session in the courtroom. We are streaming live on YouTube. is on his way in. Just one final announcement for people who came in late. We are asking that you turn all cell phones off. They are not permitted in the courtroom unless you have submitted a media request. All hats must be removed. We ask that you respect the courtroom on this morning. Thank you. Please rise. Court is now in session. Honorable Nicholas A.U. presiding.
Thank you. You may be seated, everybody. All right. Good morning, everybody. I'll call the case in just a minute. There's only one case on the docket today. People be sure. Before I do that, I want to go over some housekeeping matters. We have a full courtroom today. I want to make sure that everybody is safe, relatively comfortable, and that we can ensure maximum access for the media, or anyone interested in being here, and for the members of the public that can't be in here, that would rather be in here. We're at capacity right now. I can see that. We are streaming on YouTube. That is available for anyone who was not able to make it into the courtroom today. That YouTube access can be found on the court's website. I also want to bring to everyone's attention the court's case management order. I think we have a few copies here if you haven't seen it. It should answer all of the housekeeping questions, or any of the housekeeping questions anyone might have. That also has a link to the YouTube access point. And so if you pull that up on the court's website, you can get right to the link, and that will take you to the live streaming on YouTube. A couple of important points. Everybody does need to be in a seat and remain seated when the court is in session. Also, traffic in and out of the back doors is very disruptive, specifically when we've got someone on the witness stand. We're all human. We understand that, and nature calls us. That does happen, and somebody absolutely needs to leave the courtroom while someone's on the witness stand. Then what will happen is you won't be allowed back in until there's a break in the proceedings, either a recess or a change in witnesses. I want to encourage everyone to be patient. Be patient not only with the court and respectful of the court, but respectful and patient with each other. All right. I do want to provide just a bit of an overview for everyone's benefit of the procedure that will be followed today. We're all here for a preliminary examination. In Michigan, when the prosecutor files a felony complaint, the first stop for the case is here at the district court. The district court is a lower court than the circuit court, an inferior court of the circuit court. The stop here is just a check to ensure that there is probable cause to justify the case going any further, going over to the circuit court. If the court finds that there is probable cause that a crime was committed and that the defendant was the one case will go to the circuit court for further proceedings, up to and including a jury trial. The issue here is not whether the defendant committed a crime beyond a reasonable doubt. It is a far lower standard. It is a lower standard than even more likely than not. The proceeding itself will look a lot like a trial. The people will call witnesses. They'll examine the witnesses. The defense will have the opportunity to cross-examine those witnesses, and vice versa. When all of that is completed, then the parties will make brief arguments, the court will listen, and the court will make a decision, either that there is probable cause and the defendant should be bound over for the charge as charged, or a lesser charge, or the court could find that there's no probable cause, in which case the case would be dismissed. All right, I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview so you understand where we are, what we're doing, and makes your observation and access to the proceedings a little bit more meaningful. All right, with that, I will call the case 22FY0827, the State of Michigan versus Christopher Schurr, and if we could have all appearances,
Chris Becker for the people.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor. Matt Porgula, Kayla Hamilton, and Mark Dodge on behalf of Chris Schurr, who is seated to the left of Ms. Hamilton.
Good morning to all of you. All right. Before the people call witnesses, is there anything we need to address, counsel?
I don't believe so. We talked it over. I think we're pretty much in agreement on most things, Your Honor.
We concur, Your Honor.
All right. Then, Mr. Becker, we'll turn it over to you. Call you first.
I guess before a witness, though, Your Honor, we do have one that both parties are stipulated with. Dr. Cole was unable to be here, so we have a transcript. On Tuesday, October 11th, we took his deposition in this matter. He's the medical examiner. So we have a complete transcript for the court to review. Part of that is we have the People's Exhibits 1, 2, and 3, which are photos from the autopsy. There's also Defense Exhibit A, which is another photo from the autopsy. Both parties stipulate to the use of the court using that in place of Dr. Cole's testimony. Cutting to the chase, I think the manner of death was homicide, is his opinion. It was a single gunshot wound to the head was the cause. And then finally, I think for the purpose of the prelim, there's a .29 blood alcohol level for Patrick when the autopsy was performed. I think that covers the main points that we want to cover. We get the whole period.
All right, Mr. McGill.
We agree with that summary, Your Honor. We would just add that vitreous alcohol level, the fluid in the eye, was 0.33.
Okay. Very good. All right. Mr. Becker.
Call Nicholas Kaladi.
Swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth and the truth and nothing but the truth? I do. You may be seated. And if you would state and spell your full name for the record.
Sergeant Nicholas Kaladi. You want me to spell my first name?
Please.
Nicholas Kaladi, C-A-L-A-T-I.
Mr. Becker, may I do it?
Sir, you've already identified yourself as a sergeant. You're a sergeant with the Grand Rapids Police Department.
That's correct.
I'd like to take you back to April 4th of 2022. Did you go to the area of Nelson and Griggs on sometime that day?
I did.
Could you tell the court why you were going there on that day in that area?
A fellow officer at the time called out a traffic stop, and subsequently the traffic stop did not go as planned.
Could you tell the judge exactly how you became, you said the traffic stop didn't go as planned, what drew your attention that it wasn't going as planned, if you will?
The officer communicated that he was in a pursuit with the subject of the car.
Did you respond at that point in time and start going towards his direction, or what did you do?
I started going toward the location of the stop.
Did that ever escalate, if you will, or cause greater concern?
Yes.
Could you tell how that happened?
You could hear the tone in the voice of our officer that it has escalated, and then he also communicated that the subject was fighting with him.
Did you, I mean, when you initially went, were you going lights and sirens and then switch, or?
Initial lights and sirens.
Initial lights and sirens. Approximately how long did it take to get to the area?
Minute-wise, I'm not sure. It took a while.
Describe the scene when you arrived at the area of Nelson and Griggs.
When I arrived, I could see Officer Schurr's patrol vehicle positioned behind the suspect vehicle. 2 or 3 other officers had arrived before me. They were addressing a unknown suspect vehicle at the time. Then I also had the other suspect in the yard between 2 houses.
Do you ever give the judge an idea approximately what time of day was this?
It was morning. I don't remember the exact time.
In the morning, though, before lunchtime.
Yes.
What did you do when you got there?
Basically, I maintained the scene. What first we did is we had to check our unknowns, which was the vehicle that was stopped, if anybody else was in there or anything else. Once that was cleared, we went to go render aid to the subject in the yard.
The subject in the yard, when did you become first aware of a subject in the yard?
In the actual location is when I arrived, where I could see it.
What did you see? What did you see of that subject in the yard?
I saw a subject between 2 houses laying on his face down on the ground with his arms underneath his body.
Did you see Officer Schurr when you arrived?
I did.
What happened with him?
Upon contact with him, I could see that he was stressed out and was physically tired. And at the time, I decided it would be best for him to fall back to my police vehicle.
How did you communicate with him?
I did.
How did that go?
I just asked him to replace his firearm into his holster and go wait by my car.
For purposes of prelim, Your Honor, it's my understanding the defense will stipulate to identification of the defendant at this one time.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, very good. Stipulation is done.
Did he make any comments to you or say anything to you when you first made contact to him and called him back to your position?
Not right away. Not that I can think of right now.
Where did you go with him after he came back to your position?
He went back to my car, so I was not with him the whole time.
Then what did you do after he went back to your car?
At that time, another supervisor showed up and spoke with him.
This car, the car that he had stopped, you recall what kind of car it was?
I don't offhand.
Any description of it?
I just remember that it was a sedan with, not a SUV, it was just like a 4-door car.
Did you do anything in terms of the search of that vehicle?
I did not.
Okay. Did you render aid to the individual who was lying on the ground?
I did not put hands on it. I did walk up to the body at the time, but no, I'm not physically rendering.
Okay. Any signs of life or anything like that when you came upon the body?
Not that I noticed, no.
One moment, Your Honor.
Take your time.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning, Officer Colati.
Good morning, sir.
So you were not the first one on the scene, correct?
No, sir.
All right. And you responded when you heard a call from one of your fellow officers that he was in distress.
Correct.
And I think you testified that Officer Schurr called out that he was in a foot pursuit.
Yes.
Okay. And on your way over, he also called out that somebody asked, does he have any weapons, meaning the person he was pursuing, right?
That is correct.
And the response was, he has my taser.
That is correct.
So you're approaching this scene with caution, right?
That is correct.
Because you think there might be a suspect that has a weapon,
Correct.
because a taser is a weapon, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you were approaching it as if he was armed and dangerous.
That is correct.
And there were other officers that were approaching at the same time,
Yes, sir.
and there were other officers that were already there when you got there.
Yes, sir.
And everybody is approaching this situation with extreme caution, right?
Yes.
They have their weapons drawn or their access to the weapons readily available, correct?
Yes.
And they're clearing the scene
Yes, sir.
because they're making sure that the officers are safe.
Yes.
And there were residents milling about, right?
Correct.
And you want to make sure that everybody in the area is safe, right?
Yes.
So everybody's approaching this scene with extreme caution. Is that fair to say?
That is.
Now, by the time you got there, I think you said there were a couple officers already on the scene. So is 2 about right, or do you think there maybe were more?
I think there's 3.
3. Do you remember who they were?
Sergeant Tim Johnson, Officer Jordan Grace, and Officer Mott, I believe it was.
Okay. And so, did you recall, I think you said that they were addressing whether there was another person in the car.
That is correct.
What did you mean by addressing?
We were calling out the car verbally to make sure that nobody was in there before we walked it clear to make sure no one was in there.
Okay. And again, the concern is that there could be someone that's potentially going to harm either the officers or bystanders.
That is correct.
All right. So you're approaching this, excuse me, Your Honor, the situation as armed and dangerous because this person you suspect has a taser,
Correct.
and it's the officer's taser.
Correct.
Okay. So you knew that he had disarmed a police officer at that point, right?
Yes.
Okay. And now you know that taser's a weapon because you've been tased before, right?
That is correct.
Okay. How did it feel when you got tased?
Not good.
Okay. Were you incapacitated?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever been drive stunned before?
Yes.
What does it mean to be drive stunned?
I basically take the taser away from the wires, and it's full contact to the body, straight from the taser itself.
So there's going to be electrodes that come out. That's a cartridge, right?
Yes.
And then there's the drive stun, which if you put it up against somebody, it will inflict some.
It completes the circuit, yes.
Okay. Now, when you were drive stunned, did you feel incapacitated?
Yes.
All right. So you at some point approached who you later learned was Mr. Lyoya, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you approached him, he was still face down.
That's correct.
Did you or another officer roll him over?
Another officer did.
Do you recall who that was?
I believe it was Sergeant Tip Johnston.
Okay. As he was rolled over, did you see a taser?
I did.
Was it in the position of where his hands were?
Yes.
Did anybody move the taser or put the taser there?
No.
Okay. So you have no doubt that that taser was in the area of Mr. Lyoya's hands when he was rolled over.
Correct.
You indicated that Officer Schurr was physically tired.
Yes, sir.
Would you say he's exhausted at that point?
Yes.
Okay, and you arrived, you said some time after Mr. Lyoya had been shot, right?
That's correct.
Can you estimate how many minutes it took for you to actually engage with Officer Schurr from the time he was shot?
With morning traffic, I would say between 6 to 8 minutes, maybe.
So 6 to 8 minutes after the shooting, Officer Schurr was still physically exhausted.
Yes, sir.
Nothing further.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Want to be excused?
You may. Maybe two she may.
Break one of the microphones?
I have some concern about that, but
It just fell, it slid down, and I'm playing a game of Jenga here, and I don't want it to. Gotcha. Thank you.
You may be seated. And can you state and spell your full name for the record?
You want me to okay, my name is A-R-M-E. Last name is Tuyshime, T-U-Y-I-S-H-M-E.
Oh, thank you, sir. Mr.
Okay.
Becker,
maybe if you're speaking on the microphone, if you speak up a little bit louder, I could hear you, but it probably could do a little bit louder if you could.
Okay, you hear me?
That helps. That's a little bit better. I'd like to take you back to April 5th. You know Patrick Lyoya.
Yes, sir.
How do you know him?
He's He's a friend, like a brother.
Were you with him on that day?
Yes, sir.
Why were you with him that day? What were the two of you doing?
We was hanging out with friends, just hanging out.
Where were you hanging out with friends at?
Woodfield Apartments.
In terms of hanging out with friends, how long have you been hanging out? Was it all night, part of the night? What were you guys doing?
Yeah, all night, cause he was sleeping at night. Then he woke up in the morning early.
So when you woke up in the morning, what did you do?
We have to take one of my friends home.
You had to take all your friends home?
One of my friend home, yeah, one of them.
Who is that friend?
His name is Mar.
And how did you take that friend home?
How?
How?
With Patrick car. With Patrick car.
Patrick what?
With Patrick car.
Patrick's car.
Yes, sir.
So Patrick drove?
Yes.
Drove the three of you.
Yes.
And so did you drop off that friend at his house?
Yes, we did.
After you drop off the friend at his house, where did you go?
We stopped by Patrick friend, a new place he just moved in. We was outside just talking about the place.
So you're supposed to move in a new place. He was kind of showing you off his new place.
Yes, he already been moved in. It's just my first time seeing it.
So after you see his new place, what did the two of you do?
We just took off. We took off.
Took off?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Don't remember exactly where we was going. We just took off before.
So you're essentially just driving around.
No, not driving around. I just don't remember where we was going.
But but you're back in the car. At least you're driving.
Who?
After you left Patrick's place, are you driving in the car with Patrick?
Yeah, I was in the car with Patrick.
And as you're driving with Patrick, did you stop again?
Yes, we did.
Why?
We had to get something to drink.
So where did you stop to get something to drink?
I don't remember because that area I don't go to a lot. I just don't remember. By Walgreens, something like that.
By where?
Walgreens.
By Walgreens, okay. Do you actually get something to drink?
Yeah, we did.
What did you get to drink?
Budweiser.
A Budweiser?
Yes, sir.
Now, at this point in time, is this in the morning?
Yeah, it was in the morning.
Why are you getting a Budweiser in the morning?
Don't remember why. We just grabbed them.
So after you get the Budweiser, do you get back in the car
Yes, sir.
and you start driving again?
Mm-hmm.
You have to answer
Yes,
yes.
sir. Yes,
That's
sir.
just a recording.
Sorry.
That's okay. So as you're driving again, do you stop after that?
Where Patrick car was making noise.
What kind of noise?
It was something in the back. It was like real bad. So he turned right somewhere, and then he parked the car. He was about to go check what kind of noise the car was making.
So you think you're having car trouble, and so he stops the car. Does Patrick say anything?
Yeah, he did. He said, "Why my car?" Because I can hear it was very loud, so I can hear that why is my car is making noise.
Does he say he's going to stop and check it?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So describe what happens when he stops. What happens?
So I was on the phone. I don't know exactly what I was doing, but I can hear the noise. So he used the F word and then say he want to go check his car. So once he get out the car, I didn't know. That's when I saw police. I didn't even see police when I saw. That's when I saw police officer and him, both of them going back and forth.
So describe that for the judge in terms of, so you're on your phone. When do you first notice there's a police officer there? Is it
Once
after he gets out of the car?
Yeah, because I didn't know. Yeah, once he get off the car, yes.
Where do you see this police officer?
He just on his drive side, like he was going back forward with Patrick.
So you see the police officer on the driver's side. Can you tell what's going on between Patrick and the police officer?
They was just because I was on the other side as a passenger. I could record a conversation they was having. It just I know they was going back and forth.
All right. So what happens after they go back and forth?
Patrick, they was going back and forth, and then around the car, they went by their house. So I saw something was going on. It was very serious.
What do you mean they went by the house? Can you describe for the judge
No.
what you saw?
Okay, that's when they started going back and forth and found the car, and then they went by the house and they sat by their house. So at first I was just sitting in the car. Okay, so when I see him in the office, I started wrestling. I know something was wrong, so that's when I get off the car and then took my phone, and then started recording.
Okay. I want to make sure that I understood you say you saw the officer and Patrick wrestling. Is that what
Yeah,
you said?
they was going back and forth. Yes, sir.
All right. And they were wrestling over by the house, and
In
that's
front
when
of
you
the
got out?
house, yes, in front of the.
So why did you get out of the car?
It looked something was wrong.
So when you get out of the car, what do you do?
I get out the car and then I took out my phone.
And what do you do with your phone?
I recorded the video you guys saw. I don't know if some of you guys saw it.
Okay, so you start recording what's going on between Patrick and the officer.
They're still going back and forth.
Okay, so they're still going back and forth when you start recording.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if we play at this point in time. Your Honor, we've marked for Exhibit 4, which is actually a flash drive with a number of different videos on that. I believe the defense is stipulated to the admission of Exhibit 4.
That's correct, Jack.
All right, very good.
So within Exhibit 4, we have the passenger video.
So we're calling that passenger video, is it this one?
Within Exhibit 4. Exhibit 4 passenger video of this. I don't know, is that going to pull up on
Let me,
maybe it didn't play here. I want to pause real quick. Can you see this video? Are you able to see this video?
I'm looking at it.
Okay, I just want, is this the video that's on the screen, is that the video you took?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you play it some more?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, man. Yo, what's up, man? Now you good, you're not resisting nothing, bro. Okay, why you gotta do all that, bro? He good, man. No, like he good, like you can talk to him, bro. Yeah, like he good, bro. Like, can you talk to him like good? Like, can you, yeah. Stop burying him like that. No, he good at it, bro. Yo, you hit him too. Now he ain't brought no taser. I see.
Now, you could hear your voice during some of that. You're saying he's good. Can you describe what are you saying? Why are you saying that?
other taser was going on, and then I remember like we were told that he's at the office.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand you there.
I remember like Patrick saying like he said okay, so that's why I just remember okay.
Do you remember Patrick saying okay?
Yeah.
Do you remember Patrick saying anything else?
No, I don't record it.
What was going through your mind as you're recording this? Why are you yelling out what you're saying as we hear on the video?
Because again, I knew something was wrong.
After the video stops, after the shot is fired, what do you do?
Well, the officer said, move back. So I did move back.
So you moved away and stepped back.
Mhm.
Did you go back to your car?
No, I did not.
What did you do?
They came and grabbed me, put me in handcuffs.
Who came and grabbed you and put you in handcuffs?
It was officer.
The police, after more police officers showed up?
Yes, sir.
Not the original officer on scene.
Yes.
Not the officer that was involved with
I don't remember if it was him or not. I don't remember.
But just other officers came in and put you in handcuffs.
Yes, sir.
You talk about you were drinking Budweiser. Were you drinking before you and Patrick left?
No, I was, but Patrick was sleeping.
Okay. And you drank earlier that night then before you
Yeah,
went to bed?
yes.
Okay. Do you know how much you had to drink the night
Oh,
before?
no, I don't know because just friends sitting down talk. I won't keep in account, so I mean he was drinking.
I have nothing for the Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Tuyashime.
Money.
Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yes, sir.
Please let me know if I don't.
Okay.
So you said that you have been friends with Mr. Lyoya?
Yes.
All right. What did you call him when you talked to him? I mean, what name would you call him?
I'll call him Patrick.
Patrick. Did you know his last name before this incident?
No.
No.
I
So you didn't know his last name?
Yes.
But you considered him a friend, right?
Yes.
Okay. But not well enough to know his last name?
No, I was interested. I just called him Patrick.
You would text him occasionally?
What you say?
You would use your phone to communicate with
No,
him?
I don't remember. I had my phone in my hand. I don't remember exactly what I was doing.
I meant in general, not just that day.
Mm-hmm.
But have you ever texted Patrick before?
I don't record it.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I don't remember.
You don't remember if you ever texted him
Yeah,
before?
I called him, yes.
Okay, well, maybe I'm saying the wrong word. Did you ever use any form of communication on your phone to communicate with Patrick?
Yes, yeah, I have it before, yes.
Okay, and what forms of communication did you use?
What form did I use?
Text, WhatsApp,
Yeah.
maybe?
Oh, just text.
Just text, okay, so just the phone. And you said you've known him a couple of years?
Yes.
All right, but in all that whole time, you never learned his last name?
It just, we don't watch your name, Patrick. Or I don't ask extra name of it.
Okay. So on the morning in question, you testified, I think, that you were drinking, correct?
Yes.
And Patrick was drinking?
In the morning,
Yes.
when we work in Mappy, we were sleeping.
In the morning, right before the incident,
Mm-hmm.
right before you were filming, Patrick was drinking, right?
Because the beers were still full, so I remember if he was drinking or not.
You don't remember if he was drinking or not?
Yes, I do remember him drinking, but we had Budweiser in the car.
You had Budweiser in the car.
Yes,
Okay, were you drinking Budweiser in the car?
I was.
You were, but not Patrick.
No, I don't remember because just did too much going on. I thought.
Okay. Now you've known him a couple years. You know him by Patrick. You drink together.
Yeah, we hang out together, not just drinking. We hang out. Went to his birthday and everything.
You went to his birthday party.
Yeah,
Were family members there?
I think his girlfriend and his brother came.
How often do you drink with him?
I don't want to use term drink with him. he might give me ride to work if I don't have a car. I don't drink before work, so I don't want to use word drinking. Every time we link, we didn't have to drink, hang out.
All right, so on the morning in question, April 4th, that's the day that you took the film on your camera.
Yes.
I want to back up to the night before, April 3rd. Were you with Patrick on April 3rd?
Yeah, because he was at the house. I remember he came, then we hang out, they went to sleep. So I don't know how to answer that exactly, if I was with him all day.
Were you with him at any point on April 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. You said you woke him up on April 4th.
No, not me, somebody else did.
Who woke him up on April 4th?
I don't recall it.
You don't remember?
Yeah.
Where was he when he was awakened?
At a friend's house.
Whose friend?
David.
I'm sorry?
David.
David?
Yes.
What's David's last name?
Bukuru.
Can you spell that by chance?
Bukure. I spell it right.
So the night before, April 3rd, were you in Patrick's presence?
Yeah, we was hanging out together.
Okay. Were you hanging out at David's house
Yes,
and you were drinking?
I was.
You were drinking?
I was.
You were drinking. How about Patrick? Was Patrick drinking?
Yeah, we hanged out, but he went to sleep. Of course, before he went to sleep, yeah, he was drinking like I think. But he went to sleep because I remember everybody was kind of drinking.
Okay, so he wasn't drinking while he was sleeping, right?
That's not possible, drinking and sleeping.
It's not possible, right? Was he drinking before he was sleeping?
Yeah, I think so.
He was drinking a lot, right?
I wasn't. I'm not his counter to count how much he was drinking.
He was drinking Budweiser?
I think he liked Budweiser.
He liked Budweiser.
Yeah.
And you like Budweiser too?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. And on April 4th, you guys went and got Budweiser.
After we dropped my friend off.
Okay. Well, who is your friend that you dropped off?
His name is Mark.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Mark.
Mark?
Mark.
I'm sorry, can you spell it?
A-M-A-R-K, something like that.
M-A-R-K?
Yeah, Mark.
Mark, okay. Do you know Mark's last name?
No, I don't.
I'm smiling because your attorney's behind you and his name is Mark, but he wasn't there, right?
No, he wasn't.
Okay. Do you know Mark by any other name or last name?
I just call him Mark. Like when we don't ask really what's your last name or where you was born. We just.
All right, so he needed a ride to work on April 4th, right?
To work?
Yes.
Who, Mark?
Yes.
No, you have to take his baby.
Oh, you take his child?
Yeah.
You had to take his child to work?
No, not to work. When we drop him off, he said you gotta drop him off at home so he can take his baby to
Okay.
school or something. I don't know.
All right, so I thought you testified that the reason you were in a car
Mm-hmm.
driving around, at least in part, was to take Mark to work. Is that not right?
No, we had to drop him off at his house.
Okay. Where does Mark live?
Madison, somewhere around there.
Was Mark present the night before?
Yeah, he was with us.
Was Mark drinking?
I don't remember because I don't remember.
You don't remember because you were so drunk?
No, I just don't keep accounting who's drinking or not. It's not my job.
Who else was present on April 3rd at the house?
Ben, David, Matendo, I think.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
Matendo.
Matendu?
Do.
Anybody else?
I just do it, man. I think that was it.
So it was all men?
Yes.
And this is all at David's house?
Yes.
What time did Patrick go to sleep?
Do it, man.
Was it before midnight or after midnight?
I wasn't checking the time. I just don't remember what time I took it. So,
Did you sleep there?
no.
Where did you sleep?
I was still up because we started just listening to music, hanging out. I was just still up still. I didn't sleep over there.
So you went all night long,
Yeah.
and you were drinking all night long.
Not just some grab a beer, put it down, talk to a friend. Just
Okay, so Patrick, you said he was drinking and then he went to sleep. It's not like he went to bed, right? He passed out.
no. He went to sleep on the couch because he had a blanket on. He did not pass out.
Did he have his clothes on still?
Yes, sir.
And so he's sleeping on the couch with fully clothed, right?
Yes, sir.
And somebody threw a blanket on him.
I think he asked for it.
Did you drive around at all before you and Patrick got into Patrick's car?
No.
Okay. So the first, and let me rephrase that. You're up all night, right? And you're not really keeping track of what time it is. Is that fair?
Yes.
Did you and Patrick go for any rides before 8 a.m.?
Dirty, man.
You don't remember? You guys didn't go driving all around town after 7 o'clock for about an hour?
Like I said, I dirty, man.
When you got in the car that morning, had you ever been in that car before?
I have.
Okay. Do you remember the condition of the car when you got in?
Before the morning.
That morning?
Yeah, the car, it was making noise.
Okay. That's the engine. I'm talking about the interior. Was it a mess?
The interior.
You know what I mean by interior? You got inside the car and outside the car.
Mm-hmm.
When you sit in the car, you're in the inside.
Yes.
Okay, you understand that. And when you got in, the car was full of papers, right? On the floor?
Dirty, man.
You don't remember. You don't remember Social Security cards just sort of laying around?
No, sir.
You don't remember IDs of people other than Patrick Lyoya just sitting there?
No, sir. I think I saw some envelope or something. Envelope.
Some envelope?
Yeah. Sir.
Who's Janse Bakuma?
Say that again, please.
Do you know a person by the name of Janse Bakuma? Jeancy, last name B as in boy, Okuma.
John say, yeah. Now I remember who I used to see him around too. But
Yeah.
before, but yes.
But that's not Patrick, right?
Hmm?
Janse Bakuma is a different person than Patrick, right?
Yes.
But Patrick has Janse Bakuma's ID in that car, right?
I don't know what's his person stuff. I don't go to people person stuff.
Well, he's got a work ID that says Janse Bakuma with Patrick's picture,
He
right?
doesn't have to object. He's asked and answered. He doesn't know what is in the car, so.
I'd like to explore it.
I'll give you a little bit of latitude.
Did you ever see his ID that had a false name on it?
Whose ID?
Did you ever see an ID, perhaps hanging from something in the car, that said Janse Bakuma with Patrick's picture on it?
I just don't remember what was. Yeah, I don't remember.
Do you remember seeing bridge cards in the car?
Bridge.
Do you know what a bridge card is?
No, I don't remember. Sir. I don't know what it is.
You know what benefits are that the government can give people?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Have you or anyone you know ever received benefits for like food or the things you can buy at a store that comes on a value card?
No.
So Patrick didn't offer to sell you one of those?
The card? No.
He never offered to sell you a bridge card?
No.
He didn't text you and say, I'll sell you one for 60, you can use it for 100.
Don't remember if he.
You don't remember that, do you?
No.
So you're in the car at some point in the morning, and it's your testimony you didn't drive anywhere with Patrick before 7 or 8 in the morning. Is that fair?
April 4th? You talking about before accidents happen?
Before the incident happened, yes.
Like I said, we had to drop a friend off because he have to take his baby to school or something like that.
Do you recall when you dropped the friend off?
No, the sun was I don't remember the time.
In relation to the time you took the video, how much time had elapsed from the time you dropped off the friend till you took the video?
About 10 minutes. 9 minutes.
And before you dropped off, well, I want to retrace your steps here. When you got in the car with Patrick, did you have this friend in the car as well?
What you said, please?
About 7:30 or so in the morning, it's your testimony, you went directly from David's house with Patrick, got in Patrick's car, and you had another passenger in the car too,
Yeah, it was
right?
3 of us.
3 of you. And then did you go directly to that person's house?
Yes, sir.
And what is that person's name again? I apologize. Mark. Okay. So you've been up all night. You get in the car with Mark and Patrick. Patrick's driving. And you drive to Mark's house because he's got to take his child to school, right?
Yes.
Prior to that trip, had Patrick left David's apartment?
He was in David's apartment.
He was at David's the whole time until he left with you.
Yes.
So he wasn't driving around at all?
No, don't remember.
Do you know a person who you call MT?
That's Matendo.
That's who?
Matendo.
Matendu? And do you know their last name?
No. It's some African name. Sometimes it's hard to try to.
I understand. But you don't recall his last name.
Think of.
Is the MT, is that first initial, last initial, or is that
Yes,
just?
I think so.
Okay. So it's Matendu and then something to begin with T. Is that fair?
I think maybe that's why.
And Matendu called you at 7:53 a.m. on April 4th, right?
When I was having a conversation with him, he said, "Call," but I don't remember exactly.
You recall having a conversation with Matendu?
At the moment, I don't remember.
Okay. Do you actually remember talking to him?
I think I did, yeah.
All right, and then you received a text from MT shortly after that, right? You received a text, bro, y'all coming back? I'm trying to get to work. Do you remember that?
No, I remember seeing the text.
No, you received a text.
I received the text, but I remember me looking at the text.
You remember looking at the text?
No, I don't remember.
Do you have any reason to doubt that you received a text at 7:53 a.m. on April 4th that said, bro, y'all coming back? I'm trying to get to work.
Any doubt you said, sir?
Do you have any reason to doubt that your phone shows a text from MT on April 4th at 7:53 a.m. that said, bro, y'all coming back? I'm trying to get to work.
I still remember seeing the text. I don't know.
Do you recall calling Matendu after that at 7:54 and talking for about 1 minute and 2 seconds?
Yes, I think we spoke exactly. And then it's been a while, so it's not clicking in my head.
Do you recall what you talked about?
No,
Who was Allie J?
that's Dave.
That's David. Okay. Do you recall getting phone calls from David at around 3 in the morning on April 4th?
No, sir.
Because it would be unusual for you to get a phone call if you're hanging out with David, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So do you have any explanation for why your phone shows that you're getting calls from him at 3 in the morning?
No, sir.
And the GPS shows that you're not at David's apartment?
The GPS?
Your phone shows that you're not at David's apartment.
I don't. I remember him calling me, so I don't want to say anything out of that.
Who is Pimp?
That's Patrick.
That's Patrick. So you call Patrick Pimp on your phone at least, right?
It's just a nickname.
Just a nickname. I understand that. And you called him on April 3rd at 10:55 p.m. Is that right?
Don't remember every call.
You don't remember?
Yes, sir.
But you were hanging out with him in the same apartment, right?
Yes, sir.
So you wouldn't call him on the phone.
No, if we're together, why would I call him?
Do you recall when Patrick switched phone numbers?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, on the day of the incident, I think you testified that Patrick said something about his car not working.
Making noise.
It was making noise.
Yes, sir.
And so he got out to check it out?
Yes, sir.
All right. And you didn't have any other conversation before that about the fact that there was a police officer behind him?
No, just flipping my phone around. That's why, if I remember correctly, that's why I put it aside, trying to go to check the car out. He said F word, they went to check the car out. That's when I saw the police. I didn't even see the police.
And Patrick was in the driver's seat, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's your testimony that he stopped the car, not because there was a police officer with his lights on.
If I recorded it, because the car was making noise.
Okay. And at some point you noticed there was a police officer behind.
That's when you open the door, that's when I started hearing the words. I wasn't paying attention.
So it's just a coincidence that he pulled over right at the moment there was a police officer behind him with his lights on.
I just remember him getting in the car and get out the car, and then I saw the police.
And you indicated that he yelled, and I'm going to say a swear word in court, which you're not supposed to do, fuck,
Yes.
and then jumped out of the car.
Yes.
Do you recall Patrick talking to the officer outside the car, right?
Yes. Yes.
And do you recall seeing the officer approach?
Yeah, once he opened the door, because again, I don't know exactly what had gone on in my phone. So when he said the A4 was somewhere with my car, when he get out, that's when I see them go back. I didn't see the police officer.
You saw the officer ask him to get back in the car, right?
I don't remember what they were talking about outside because I was in the passenger seat still.
At some point, Patrick opened the door back up after he had already exited the car, right?
Yes, I remember that.
And he told you to get his license, right?
Yeah, get my ID, sir.
Okay, did you give him his ID?
I could have. I checked. I could have.
You looked in the glove box?
Yes.
There's nothing in there, was there?
Yeah, I couldn't find his ID.
Okay. Did he ask you to look in the glove box?
I was just. I don't remember if he asked me. Just I remember him say, check or get my ID. I don't remember exactly what he said. I remember looking for it. I remember the part.
Did you tell him that I can't find your ID?
Yes.
And then he closed the door.
Don't remember if it wasn't. But I remember me telling him that I couldn't find it.
Did you observe I think you said wrestling between Patrick and the officer?
They were just going back and forth.
And before that, they were talking, right?
Yes.
But after Patrick closed the door, you saw Patrick run.
I don't remember him closing the door. It just I remember they was going back and forth. They went in front of their house. That's when I knew something was wrong. So that's when I decided to take out get out the car and then start recording.
Okay, and you got your phone out. And that was after Patrick and the officer were wrestling on the side of the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a yes?
In front of their house.
And then they went around to the front of the house, right?
When he got out, they weren't rest. They were just words. I remember. I didn't hear what they were talking about again on the side, driver's side, when he was out. So when they went in front of the house, that's when I saw it start again, like a physical. So that's when I started recording.
All right, well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you're saying that you don't remember what happened on the side of the car.
No, I do, but I didn't hear the words they was talking about outside the car, because I was in the passenger seat.
But you saw Patrick run around the car?
Yes, him and the officer.
And before that, you saw them wrestling, right?
No, they were not. They had a conversation first, words back and forward, and then that's when I know. Once I saw them go around the car, that's when I started recording. When they started getting physical.
So they got around to the yard, and the officer caught him pretty quickly.
I was still in the car when they started wrestling.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
See, I was still in the car still when they was in front of the house.
Well, there were windows on the car, right?
Yes.
So you could see through them.
Yes.
Could you see them through the windows as they wrestled on the yard?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see Patrick run around the back of the car?
They both did.
They both did.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw Patrick and the officer in a physical confrontation before Patrick ran.
Yeah, having words, I don't know what they were you want, but yeah, before they was going back and forth.
Okay.
They didn't. Yeah.
All right. At some point, you stepped out of the car,
Yes, sir.
right? And you decided to film with your camera, right?
Yes, sir.
There was a neighbor that came out, another gentleman, right?
If, I didn't see nobody. I thought it was just
You didn't see anybody else there?
no.
Okay. And you said you heard Patrick yelling, "Okay, okay."
Yes.
You also
So-
heard the officer tell him, "Stop resisting," right?
Mhm.
You heard him say "stop" over and over again, right? Right?
Everything went so fast. So.
You heard him say "stop" over and over again, right?
Yes.
You heard him at some point yell to Patrick, "Drop the taser," right?
Yes.
Okay. But you didn't see any other neighbors in the area?
No, I didn't see it because I was just focused on the video. I didn't see any other neighbors.
Okay. So Patrick said "okay," but he also said some things to you, right?
Yes.
He told you to get the keys.
I didn't hear that. No,
You didn't hear him say "get the keys"?
I heard him calling my name, but I didn't hear what he said.
Okay, you heard him say "Amy" and then something.
Yes, sir.
You just heard the video. Did you hear him say "get the keys" on the video?
I wasn't looking at the video. I looked at a little bit, just looked to the side.
Want to play part of the video? Do you want me to do it, or?
If you don't mind, we'll start it out. You can just go to the 20 seconds in.
I'm going to play for you what's been admitted as Government Exhibit 4, passenger video. And I'm going to start at about 20 seconds in. And there's some comments directed to you from Patrick.
Now he said he's good for me. Great, yo, what's up, man?
You stop it right there. Now, there he said "Amy."
Mm-hmm.
What did he say after?
Get the keys.
Get the keys. And you keep playing it.
I really don't want to watch this video over and over again.
Now he good, you're not resisting nothing, bro.
You stop it there, please. Yeah, I believe we need a break. He's talking with counsel.
We need more? No. Okay. You just had a question. Okay. Very good. You good?
Yes, sir.
Let me continue.
And if for whatever reason you need to talk to your counsel, you can
Thank you.
just let the court know, okay?
Oh, okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay, so I don't know if you heard the last one, because I played it. I didn't realize your back was turned. Can we go back? Play it again?
Now he said he's good for me. Great, yo, what's up, man? Not resisting. Now he good, you're not resisting nothing, bro.
Stop it there. Thank you. Okay, so you were filming the action, right?
Yes, sir.
And then Patrick yelled, "Get the keys," right?
Yes, sir.
And then your vision goes down to the ground, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're looking for the keys, aren't you?
No, I wasn't looking for the keys.
At some point, you saw Patrick in a tussle over a taser. Do you know what a taser is?
Yes, sir.
It shoots electrodes and can cause you to seize up. You're generally familiar with what that is?
I know what it is.
Okay. Have you ever used one before?
No, sir.
Have you ever been tased?
No, sir.
Okay. But did you recognize on the morning of April 4th that the officer tried to use his taser against Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, so you knew that, you knew what was going on?
When the officer was tasing Patrick, they would just continue wrestling. Really, that's if I remember exactly.
So the officer drew his taser, and Patrick grabbed the taser, right?
At some point, I don't remember him grabbing the taser, but I know if you get tased, it's hard. You're trying to take it off.
So you don't know if he got tased? Right?
No, he got tased, I remember, but
Well, the taser went off. Do you remember Patrick dropping to the ground, shaking?
no, I ain't
Okay.
saying.
So was there any indication that the taser prongs actually hit Patrick from your point of view?
Don't remember.
You don't remember?
Yeah, if he hit him, I do it, but I know they was going back and forth.
When Patrick reached out for the taser, he used his left hand, right?
I don't know which hand he used.
Do you know whether Patrick is right or left-handed?
Yeah, I know. I don't know what hand he used. I don't pay attention to details.
You don't know if he's right or left-handed?
Yes, sir.
As they continued to struggle over the taser, at some point you moved a few steps closer towards the sidewalk, right?
Yes.
And you told the officer, stop grabbing him like that, right?
I just heard that, yes. Sir, yes, sir.
So you were telling the officer to let him go.
Yes, sir.
After the officer shot Patrick, he told you to get back, right?
Yes, sir.
And you didn't move, did you?
Took a couple steps back.
And later on, the police showed up, right?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Okay. And then you were taken into custody at that point?
Yes, sir.
Have you met with Mr. Becker
Who?
before today? Mr. Becker, the prosecutor?
First time.
First time today, okay. Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Witness may be excused. Sir, you may step down.
Thank you, Ron.
Colleen Butler.
Would you raise your right hand? You swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated, sir. And if you would state and spell your full name, please.
My name is Wayne Butler, B-U-T-L-E-R.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Butler. Mr. Becker, whenever you're ready, you may begin your witness.
Mr. Butler, good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to take you back to April 4th of 2022. Were you living on Nelson Avenue in the city of Grand Rapids?
Yes, I was.
And were you home that morning?
Yes, I was.
Did something unusual happen, I guess, in the front of your house or right by your house that morning?
Yes, there was.
Could you tell the judge how you first became aware of something happening?
I was getting out of the shower and I noticed police lights outside of the window, and I found it kind of funny because we're like a couple blocks in each direction off of Burton and Kalamazoo, so it seemed like somebody had. There was a traffic. Anyways, there's not a lot of traffic stops that occur in front of my house, just because of the proximity. And so when I noticed the lights I, kind of glanced out my window, and then, I proceeded to get dressed, and I went downstairs just to kind of, I guess you call it, maybe just oversee the situation, kind of see what's going on. I was on my porch, obviously. I wasn't in the mix, but I just wanted to observe what was going on.
Okay, stop you there. Before, when you say you're getting out of the shower, you're upstairs. It's a two-story house. You're upstairs or downstairs?
Upstairs. Yeah, so I'm looking out of my bedroom window.
I guess when you first look out of the bedroom window, you see the lights. Do you see anything going on at that point?
Yes, so you're gonna have to bear with me. My memory is it's right on, but this was a very, very traumatic incident for me. Very, and so, anyways, digging this up kind of hurts a little bit. But I do remember there was a regular traffic stop kind of situation, and then I got downstairs, and as far as I remember, that's kind of where.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
If you do, when you say you looked outside the window initially, what did you see initially when you looked outside?
Okay, so I saw Officer Schurr. He was going to just proceed with the traffic stop, headed to the driver's side of the car. And I guess beginning that a regular traffic stop.
Did you see the driver? Did you see the driver outside the car at that point in time? Or you saw the officer?
No, I didn't see the driver outside of the car, I believe, until I came downstairs.
So you see him approach, you decide to put on your clothes, you go down the stairs,
Yeah.
you say you go on your porch, this is a
Screen and porch, yes.
So you go out on the porch.
Yes.
I guess when you first come out your door or on that porch, can you describe for the judge what you saw at that moment?
So at that moment, I saw them. Patrick was outside of the vehicle, I believe, at this point, and that's what kind of struck me as like a African American male, because obviously nobody's supposed to get out of the vehicle, but it ends up that we end up dead when we get out of the vehicle. And not to say that that's not the procedure. Nobody should get out of the vehicle, but that's what struck me as a 41-year-old African-American male, just wanting to make sure everything went okay.
So you were worried at that point in time because you saw
Right,
Patrick
because out of the vehicle, and I didn't know what reason he would be out of the vehicle for.
Could you hear anything between the two at that point?
There was like a dialogue. I wouldn't go on record to what it was that I heard, because I don't know specifically. I don't want to be wrong, but there was a dialogue, and I could tell in the dialogue he was confused. And the reason I say confused is because
Who was confused?
Patrick was confused. And the reason I say he was confused, this is what I say in giving the context of confused. The confusion is, first of all, you shouldn't have been out the car. As an African-American male, the way I'm seeing it, and so I'm like, there's got to be something going on where he's having a discussion with the police officer. Don't you know he's got a gun? He's got a taser. He could kill you. That's what I say is confusion. Not like I saw him disoriented or anything like that. Like, clearly he didn't know what the rules in America are about traffic stops.
So what did you see next? After you see this dialogue, you say there's a dialogue that you don't know what it is. What do you see happen?
Then I see him, and the word I used before I even saw the videotape when I gave my testimony to state police, I said there was like a tussle, like he was trying to evade him. And when I went back and I saw the video, that's exactly what it was. It was,
Now you're talking about this tussle. This is a tussle by the car?
Yeah, well, that wasn't a tussle at that point. It was kind of, he was just trying to evade going to jail that morning. I guess that would be.
John, I'm going to object, or at least I would like some more foundation. Is the witness testifying from the video he obviously watched afterwards, or from his memory of that?
No, actually, you could go to my state police.
Okay, all right, hold on. Mr. Becker, did you want to explore that further?
Are you testifying? We're just looking for what you testified from your memory now.
Yeah, I'm testifying what I told the state police when they interviewed me right afterwards.
Okay.
And there was a sidestep that I specifically remember. Because I remember that, I said, why is he trying to sidestep the officer? Just call it good, whatever it is, you know, and then it proceeded to the chase. And it all happened so fast, I can't really second for you.
Just do the best you can. That's all.
But what I'm trying to convey to the court is what I saw.
Yep. So when you say the chase, what do you mean by the chase? What
I'm
chase ensued?
So I mean, there's a sidestep, and hey, where you going? Hey, and then it's kind of like a. What I told the state police is he didn't appear to be running to freedom for me. I know that might sound kind of crazy to you, but it doesn't seem like he was running. Like people that have committed big crimes, they run far away. Like they run in a straight line away from whoever's chasing them. This wasn't that. He was running like he was disoriented playing tag in 2 front lawns. And so that was the kind of disorientation I'm talking about. The type of like, I don't know where I'm gonna go, but I don't wanna be here. And at this time, then I look over and I see the guy that's in the car with him, and he's got a videotape recording, or he's got his phone recording, you know, the situation. And so at this point, I see Officer Schurr trying to get Patrick together, and I see the guy in the car recording this situation. And then that's when I start yelling to the guy in the car, hey, get your guy, get your guy, get your guy. Tell him to stay down, get your guy, get your guy. Because I didn't want to jump in the middle of a police chase and get shot myself. Got 5 daughters. I need to stay alive for them. But I didn't want this man, regardless of what he did, you know, to die.
Okay. So in terms of there is this chase, what happens in terms of how does the chase end, if you will? What happens between the
So
officer and
what happens is they get to kind of running around. When I say running around, they go around the car and just, you know, they're chasing, they're tussling. The officer has control of Patrick the whole time. And when I say control, I mean physical control. Like if it was a wrestling match, the officer's always winning 60-40. It's like a football game where one team always has the lead. You know, he always had the lead, wasn't by much, and you could tell he was getting worn out, but he always had the upper hand.
So where is this wrestling match, as you described it, taking place, I guess, initially?
So the wrestling match, it starts, I see a flip-flop fall off, and I don't know if it's a officer's gun, I don't know if it's a walkie-talkie. I guess it ended up, maybe it was a walkie-talkie, maybe it was a flip-flop, but I saw something black fly off, and that's when I kind of stepped out my door a little bit to just kind of see what's going on, and then it hit me, and I jumped back in. I don't want to get caught in any of this, but I believe it was right in front of my driveway, and then it went right to the next door neighbor's house. And then at that point, I ran upstairs because I tried to communicate to the guy videotaping. I tried to communicate to the officer, or to Patrick, to just stay down. And then I went upstairs to go get my camera. You know, because at first when I left, my phone was on the bed. You know, I went down there just to just keep an eye on it, make sure everything's good. There's nothing crazy. You know, there's eyes watching in the neighborhood. So I didn't go down there with that intent. But then when I realized that it was escalating so quickly, that's when I went to go get my phone. And about halfway downstairs is when I heard the pop.
Okay. Now you take it back though, in terms of, I want to take it back a
Okay.
little bit in terms of when you come out, you talked a couple times, you're yelling to his friend, Patrick's friend.
Yes.
You said you're yelling at Patrick too?
Yeah, I'm telling him to just to stay down.
Do you hear Patrick saying anything at that point in time?
No, I don't remember him saying anything.
Do you remember the officer saying anything during this?
I do, but I don't know. I wouldn't be 1,000% sure of what the officer was saying. I mean, I'm sure it was just stay down or something along those lines. I mean, it was. Yeah, I wouldn't go on record and say specifically with either one of them. But I don't remember Patrick saying anything.
At the time you were down there, you talk about going back upstairs. At the time, before you go upstairs, do you see the taser ever out?
Yes, I do see the taser.
Describe for the judge how that came out. What happened going up to that point?
So, there was the chase, the shuffle outside of the car. Then it got to, hey, where you going? Get on top. Wrestling. Then it went over to the next door neighbor's house, and then I saw the officer grab his taser and shoot it, and I remember in that moment that it didn't work. I'm like, oh man, the taser didn't work, you know, and then that's why I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta go upstairs to get my phone because this might be, you know, in the moment you don't process all the stuff, but I do remember the taser not working, and I do remember Patrick being surprised at the like everybody I think was kind of surprised that the taser didn't work. I think the officer was surprised, I think Patrick was, and there was like a pause, you know, and it's like, okay, well, what's next, you know, and I don't know what's next. That's not what I'm here for.
And I guess once again, at that point in time, did you ever hear Patrick saying anything? Any yelling from Patrick when the taser came out? Any comments at that point in time?
The comments, I just don't, I think I've suppressed those comments, to be honest with you. I really don't, my brain
That's fine.
can't. I remember the situation like it was yesterday. It's like a movie that I was in, you know, but I don't remember any of the words necessarily.
Do you remember anything from the officer?
I know the officer was tired. I know the officer was definitely tired. That tussling that went on in my front, like near my house, I mean, it was probably a good 60 seconds of like wrestling, you know? I mean, and it was
Now, I guess I'll ask you now, in terms of, you've had other statements, you said something, you don't think the officer did anything wrong. Why did you say that? What were you describing at that point?
So what I was describing, as far as what the officer did wrong, is the first part. You know, I mean, he tried to prevent the situation from getting there, but then I think at the end he made the wrong left turn, and that's my personal opinion. Yeah.
He's making an opinion on something.
That's fine. Not about your opinion. I'm not looking for that. So, not your opinion. But you stopped watching after the taser because you're going back upstairs at that point in time.
Exactly, because I know it's going to get worse.
Okay, so you don't see anything after that. What happens after the taser?
No.
Okay. I think if we look at the in-car video, we're going to put Exhibit 4 in-car video. Maybe I'll go over some of this a little bit more.
We have no objection to that, Your Honor.
Okay.
So you recognize this as your neighborhood?
Yes.
Now we don't have a laser pointer, but which is your house?
My house is the one with the black car in the driveway, the SUV in the driveway.
Okay, kind of to the right
Yep.
of the vehicle pulling over, just in the
Exactly, and my bedroom window is the second window on the top left of the house.
so kind of the far window.
Yes, exactly.
You can continue. Now, is this about the time you would have seen?
Yeah, this is probably the point right where I'm coming downstairs right now. Once I see them both outside like this, this is, I think, now my door. Like I said, it's like a movie, but you can see my door right there, and I have a white T-shirt on. I don't know what point I come into the.
We'll watch and see.
Okay. There I am. Yeah.
That
Yep.
door opening.
Right, and that's where I was like, hey, just stay down, man, just stay down.
Now, from the video, it actually looks like you actually come outside.
Yeah.
Once again, at this point in time, you don't recall anything being said by Patrick.
1950, very short car.
No.
Okay. And do you recall anything being said by the officer?
No. No.
What's your location?
Did the passenger ever respond?
No. No. Never. Never.
Saying that you-
Never said anything to me.
It looks like you're still standing in the doorway
Yeah,
there.
yeah, and I'm trying to tell. That's where I was trying to communicate to his friend. Tell your guy to just stop.
Stop there. Now, we just heard the shot. Where were you when you heard the shot?
I was coming down the stairs.
Did you have your phone already?
Yeah, I had my phone. Yeah.
What did you do then after? Did you continue to come downstairs after?
Yeah, I continued to come downstairs. I had, I was in so much shock. I think I might have had like a 4-second or 2-second video I took on my phone, and then I just turned it off. Like I went back and I saw it maybe a couple of months later and deleted it. You know, I mean, there was no even. I was so taken back seeing the body laying there.
So you actually then came outside after hearing the shot?
I was on the porch. I mean, looked over and saw.
Let's see.
Yeah.
What did you see when you came out after you go get the video? get your
I
phone,
hear
you came
shots
out-
fired, and I see Officer Schurr backing up and getting up, and he called it in. I guess he said shots fired, officer involved shooting or whatever, and he just kind of backed up, but he looked just as shocked. Yeah, he looked just as shocked.
Did you go out try to render aid or anything like that?
No.
And how long did you see other police officers? show up after
Police officers were on the scene providing, trying to do CPR or whatever, maybe about 30 seconds. Probably about 30
that? After
seconds.
you see Officer Schurr back?
Yeah, after he calls it in, then the block starts, the whole bunch of police officers start coming, so.
Okay. And maybe I just want to cover that before we play more.
Okay.
You can see. And you can see that's you coming out the door?
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, you talk about this kind of arresting, did you ever did Patrick ever throw any punches?
No, Patrick was never on the offensive, and at the time in my state police report, they asked me definitively, did Patrick have a weapon? And I said he absolutely did not. He said, how can you be so sure? And my response was because he would have had more than enough time to use a weapon if that was his intent. But between the chase, like it all happened so fast, but my brain recalled in between the chase and running in circles and him having enough space to be able to operate and then the taser not working, all those things put together, a person that was trying to go on the offensive against the police would have, or had a weapon, would have had more than enough time to use it or to do so.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Butler.
Good morning.
My name's Matt Borgula. We haven't met. So let me just start with this. You're providing some opinions today, some lay opinions. Is that fair? And one of which
I was there, so yeah,
Right. Yeah.
They aren't lay opinions. I would just say they're eyewitness opinions. Yeah, go ahead.
that's actually the same thing under the law. What it means is you're not an expert. You just saw something and you formulated an opinion in your mind of what occurred. Is that fair?
Correct.
Okay.
Based on my experience in America. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And no one expects you to make your opinion based on something that
My
isn't your
experiences are different than yours. Yes.
Because you bring all your experiences to your memory,
Yes.
okay? And no one is questioning that. But at the time that you were first interviewed, you indicated that you thought Officer Schurr did nothing wrong. Correct?
I did.
And that was based on what you saw. You
right.
didn't see the shooting.
I didn't see the shooting.
Okay.
Right.
And you might have an opinion about the shooting.
Right. Correct.
But you didn't see it.
Right.
Okay.
The execution style is what changed it for me.
Okay. So someone told you it was execution style.
No, after I saw the video.
All right.
After I saw the video, because I believe Mr. Schurr to be a good man. Like I believe Mr. Schurr, I believe you don't sign up to be the police to be because you're a bad guy. And doesn't mean that police don't do things that are wrong, but I do believe him to be a good man. I do believe, and this is my opinion once and again, just like him being a good man.
Mr. Butler, I'm going to cut you off.
Yes.
Because you're entitled to your opinion of what you saw.
Okay.
And how it made you feel. But you're not entitled to the bigger opinion on
Okay.
whether or not he's a good man or whether or not it was an execution because you didn't see any of it, right?
Correct.
Okay. You saw the video later, and it's really not relevant what your opinion is of what the video. It's actually the judge's job to figure out whether or not a crime's been committed.
Okay.
So I appreciate your opinion.
Yeah.
And I certainly respect your experiences, but this is not the forum in which you express your opinion about things you didn't see. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. And I just want to confirm that your opinion at the time was that the officer did a good job, did everything he could, based on what you saw at that time.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And so you live in this neighborhood. How long have you lived in that neighborhood, sir?
About three years.
All right. And you've had some incidents with stolen cars in that neighborhood, right?
Yes, I had a 2006 Honda, my mom's car actually I was using, and it was stole out of my driveway. It was running, but I don't know this to be a fact, another one of my opinions, but I believe Mr. Schurr was one of the officers who came and filed a police report. And that's what leads to I believe him to be a good man that was trying to do his job, but I know you don't care for my opinion.
Well, it's not that I don't care about it, sir. It's
Unless
this
it's
is not the time for it. We can talk
advantageous,
afterwards if you like. Okay? If you had interaction with him before, though, that might be relevant. Do you recall seeing Officer Schurr before?
I don't, like I said, I can't be positive.
Okay. And but you did have a stolen car
Yeah.
out of that same driveway that we just saw on the film?
Yes, and it actually got returned.
Okay. Because the GRPD recovered it?
GRPD, yep, fantastic.
So they did a good job there.
They did do a good job there, yeah.
Okay. Are you aware of other stolen vehicles in the neighborhood?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Now, during the incident, when we saw you come down, prior to that, you were upstairs.
Yes.
How many bedroom house is that?
3.
How many up? How many bedrooms up?
3.
All 3 are up?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a Monday morning around 8 o'clock.
Yes.
Are you getting ready to go to work?
Yeah, I'm actually getting ready to head to the auction, yes.
Okay. What's the auction?
I was buying and selling cars with a dealer out of Lansing at the time, yeah.
And do I recall correctly, you have more than one job?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, all right. So you're upstairs, you're getting ready to go to the auction, your work,
Yeah.
right? And you see the lights in the neighborhood, and that draws your attention.
Yes.
And I think your testimony on direct was that you don't actually remember what people were saying.
Can you clarify?
You don't recall hearing from the upstairs what anybody said.
No, not necessarily, no.
You just recall that there was some sort of interaction after Mr. Lyoya jumped out of the car.
Yes.
And it startled you that, or you became alarmed that Mr. Lyoya jumped out of the car.
No, I was more alarmed that the police were pulling over somebody this far in my neighborhood. That was the first alarm.
All right.
Like, because there's main streets, you know, so if somebody's speeding on Kalamazoo or Burton, you pull them over, they turn one street in, pull over. So this, to me, was, you know, a little bit further in, so it raised some, you know, a little more flags.
It was out of the ordinary, right?
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah.
And whatever caused alarm, and you thought enough that you need to go outside, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And so you went downstairs. At the moment, he was basically circling towards your house, or the area in between the two houses?
Yeah.
Okay. And you saw the officer catch him and tackle him.
Yes.
And the purpose for you going outside was in part to maybe try to stop Mr. Lyoya from making a mistake.
No. See, that's what I'm saying about our experiences being completely different. My reason for going out there is because I'm a 41-year-old African-American male who's a deacon at my church, and I wanted to make sure no African-American young man's civil rights got violated.
Okay.
And I also wanted to make sure nothing went too crazy in front of my house as a steward of the neighborhood.
Sure.
So
it's 8 a.m. in the morning
yeah,
on a Monday.
it's not about justice for me, necessarily. It's about making sure everything's okay. Everybody can be okay on Monday morning. That's it.
Absolutely. And it's a Monday morning.
Yeah.
It's unusual that someone would be in a police chase on a Monday morning at 8 a.m., right?
Correct.
And you see a black man and a white officer. Based on your personal experiences, that raises additional alarms for you.
Right. I didn't want anyone's civil rights to get violated.
Sure. And so you went outside and you started talking to Mr. Lyoya.
Yes.
Okay. And you were trying to convince him to just comply with the officer's commands.
Yes.
And this went on for, I think you said, over a minute, where they're wrestling, right?
Correct. Yes.
And at the same time, the officer is providing commands to Mr. Lyoya to stop, right?
Right.
And eventually he's talking about stop resisting, right?
Like I said, I don't recall the exact words that were said. So, I mean, that would be a contradiction right there. So I'm not going to start saying what I remember saying, but I'm sure there were something along those lines. You know, I'm sure there was some conversation, but I don't remember specifically.
Okay. And that's all we're asking for,
Yeah.
is your memory. And so, but you recall that whatever he said, the officer,
Right.
it was designed to get the Patrick Lyoya to comply, right?
Correct, and he was in control the whole time. So that's why, as if there were commands being shouted, they were in that time when he was grabbing him and he had him held and he was on top of him. And I could, now one thing I did notice when they were wrestling is the officer was extremely out of breath. And I know, I mean, he's just trying to do his job. I understand that, or whatever the case is, but he was tired.
Okay,
That's
so the
one thing I
officer
know
was
for a
tired.
fact. He was exhausted after this physical encounter. And he couldn't,
And Mr. Butler, I'm sorry. I know you wanted
No,
tell your
go
piece,
ahead.
but let me ask you a question,
Okay.
because it's real hard for the record if we're talking over each other.
I'm sorry.
We'll get through all of it.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you about everything you testified on direct, okay?
Okay.
All right, so, and we'll talk about the fact that the officer was tired. But I want to talk about these commands
Sure.
that you heard. Did you ever hear the officer say anything that was designed to hurt Patrick Lyoya?
I just said I didn't recall any words. So any questions you have regarding the words, I don't remember any specific commands that are being shouted. I know we're asking the same question over and over. I get it, but no, I don't.
Well, it's a little bit different question. You didn't hear him say, "I'm going to kill you," for example.
I didn't hear him say anything.
Okay. Well, you heard him say something.
I heard him say something I just don't recall.
And I think you just testified that it was, whatever he was saying was designed to get him to comply.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And it's, during this whole time they're fighting, and you indicated that Officer Schurr was tired.
Yes.
Right? And you saw him out of breath.
Yeah.
Could you hear him exhaling hard and
Yes. I could.
difficulty breathing?
Yes, I could.
Okay. And could you hear Patrick Lyoya?
Yeah, they were, I mean, it's wrestling. Yeah, they were both breathing hard and, and, you know, it was what you would expect in grown men wrestling.
Okay.
For,
Do you have any sports background?
yeah, I do.
What did you play?
Basketball and football.
Okay. So you've done ladders where you
Yeah.
run? Okay.
Yeah.
If you do a ladder for 60 seconds, could you do one today?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, you're a better man than me.
Yeah. Hey, man,
But that will wear you out, right?
Yeah.
If you go back and forth on the 10-yard line, 20-yard line, 30.
I was bred for it.
Okay. Now, if you put 30, 40 pounds on top of you, like pads, for example,
Yeah.
it's much harder.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
And that's why you think at this point, the officer, you can hear and you know from your experience that he's absolutely exhausted.
Yes,
And that's before you went upstairs, right?
yes.
Okay. Now, you talked about sort of a ratio of who's in control.
Yeah.
And I think you said the officer was 60% in control and Patrick was 40%.
He wasn't losing the game.
He wasn't losing.
Yeah.
But had he won?
No, he definitely hadn't won.
He never had him in the point where he had him completely in control.
Right, because he wasn't strong enough.
He wasn't strong enough. He
Right.
could not control Patrick Lyoya completely.
Right.
So he never had 100% control over him.
No, he didn't.
All right.
But he was also never threatened.
Did you see the taser?
Yeah, no, I'm saying he was never threatened. He was never punched. He was always the one delivering the blows. He was never headlocked. He was never. Patrick was always in the motion of getting away, like a runaway slave. He wasn't the one that was trying. No, I don't mean it like that. But I'm just saying he was just trying to get away from what I saw. Now whether that's right or wrong.
Right,
That's
well, and let's talk about that, what you perceived. So when you, in his effort to get away, he's resisting the officer.
yes,
Okay, at a minimum you see that, right?
yes.
Okay. Did you see the point where he grabbed the taser?
Yes, I did see the point where he grabbed the taser.
So the officer pulled the taser out
Yeah,
and Patrick grabbed it.
yeah,
Okay, so he
Yeah.
didn't, the officer didn't shove it into his hand.
right.
It was an affirmative act by
It was
Patrick.
a defensive act to not. It's
To not get
what-
tased.
To not get tased. Yeah, what anybody else would go through in a situation where they felt like they were threatened and they had to get away.
Okay.
It was a natural reaction to me. If he was a criminal and had a gun, at that point he would have used the gun against the officer. But he was trying to prevent himself from being further harmed, whether that's right
Have
or
you ever
wrong.
met Patrick Lyoya?
No, never in my life.
So you don't know what was in his mind?
No, I don't. But
Okay. So, and what we're talking about is your experiences, what's in your mind, and what you saw.
right.
Okay? So your opinion about what was in Patrick's mind, again, I know you have an opinion, but it's not really relevant for
Okay.
the judge. Okay? Now, after the taser shot,
Yeah.
is that when you went upstairs?
Yeah. Once the taser didn't work. Yeah.
Okay. So when you say it didn't work, nobody looked like they got tased, right?
Right. Nobody. Yeah. Exactly. There was no shaking. There was no. Yeah.
Okay. And then by the time you came back down, the shot had already happened.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you didn't see anything in between those two
No,
moments?
no.
All right. You indicated that the blows were coming from the officer. Did you actually see Officer Schurr punch?
Well, yeah. In the beginning part, I mean, when they were wrestling, the officer was he hit him a couple of times, like in the rib cage. You know, when they were kind of wrestling, I did catch that.
All right. Was it maybe with his knee?
Maybe with his knee, maybe with his arm. It was but there was some kind of blows, whether a punch or knee or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. And so he did that after he had tackled him around the side of the house, in the front yard, right?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, so before he did the knee strikes, he tried to get his arms behind his back?
You know what? As far as the sequence of this, you would probably go to the video and probably get a much better. I don't want to tell you anything that's not true to be discredited. So
Okay.
the video will probably give you more evidence.
Well, but we rely on human beings to give their personal account,
I understand it was 6 months ago though, and you don't understand how my brain has had to deal with this trauma and compartmentalize this.
Okay.
So the video might be a better source as far as what happened first.
Now, at some point, you noticed that there was a passenger in the car, right?
Yes, sir.
And you were talking to him,
Yes, I was.
and you were telling, I think something like, "Tell your boy to chill,"
Yeah.
because you were trying to get him to talk some sense into Patrick.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether or not, or do you recall him doing that?
No, there was no communication with him.
Was anybody else in the area saying anything that you can recall?
No, not that I recall. No.
So it's you, the passenger, and the officer.
Right.
No other neighbors you recall coming out?
No, no.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lyoya. Mr. Beckman, anything further?
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Witness may be excused. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Lyoya. You may be excused. Thank you.
Oh, Fred Hunter?
Oh, Mr. Beckman, it's 10:30 now. I think we've been
I just,
2 hours.
we have the Zoom guy at 11. I thought maybe we could break at that point in time. Because I
Before
think
we start the Zoom?
before we start the Zoom,
Okay.
that'd be good. Hopefully, we got a half hour for this. I'm hoping we can get him
You think
in.
this would be about
This would
10,
be a witness. Maybe take a break. We can probably put off the Zoom call a little bit.
Okay. Does that sound good, Mr. Lyoya?
That's fine with us.
All right. Thank you, everyone, then, for being patient, hanging in there. We'll get a break for you as soon as we can. So would you raise your left hand? You swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. You may be seated. If you would state and spell your full name for the record.
Fred Hunter, F-R-E-D, Hunter, H-U-N-T-E-R.
All right. Mr. Becker, you may examine.
Mr. Hunter, if you could speak up just a little bit. I could hear you, but it was very faint. You're kind of soft-spoken, so if you just speak up louder so we can hear you back here.
Okay, Fred Hunter.
Yep, thank you. Mr. Hunter, I'd like to take you back to the morning of April 4th of 2022. Were you at home in your address on Nelson Avenue?
Yes.
At some time in the morning, did something unusual happen, I guess essentially in your front yard?
Yeah, pretty much. I saw that there was like some ruckus going on in the front because my dog was like going towards the door, and that's when I saw Patrick and the officer kind of like tussling and running in the yard and stuff.
All right, maybe slow you down a little bit. Going back in terms of is it your dog that kind of makes you aware something's going on?
Yeah, my dog barks, and so.
Where are you at when your dog starts barking?
I'm in the living room, so like my living room is right in the front of the house, so.
All right. Do you look out your window then?
Yeah, the door is open. Yeah, the door is open, and like there's a screen door, so I can look through the window and I can see the front.
So the first time your dog starts barking, you look out the window. Can you describe for the judge what you see out your window at that point in time?
I saw the officer chasing Patrick, and then they went toward the right side to my neighbor's house. And then from there, I couldn't see anything. So at that point, I just kind of walked off and just did whatever. And then when I heard the gunshot, then I went back to the window, and then that's when I saw the officer standing over Patrick with a gun.
So when they go to the side off, is your driveway over there, or is it
No,
neighbor's driveway?
It's my neighbor's driveway, right there on the right side. So like my house is here. So on the right side, that's where they kind of like cut. It's like a blind side, so I can't really see. So yeah, that's pretty much where I saw him on that side first.
So describe once again for the judge. You just see a chase. Do you see any struggle before the chase, or you just see the officer chasing Patrick?
It's a little bit of both. I see him trying to like grab and get a hold of Patrick, but Patrick is trying to obviously leave. So I guess they were just kind of tussling back and forth, and then eventually, once he went to the side where my neighbor house is at, after that I couldn't see anything until after I heard the gunshot.
So you didn't go try and look outside and try and see what happened after that?
No.
Okay. And did you ever see a taser being taken out or anything along those lines?
Well, I saw that. I assumed that they were reaching for a taser or something when they were tussling and whatnot, because I mean, like, he started, I guess, from his car. So once he got in the yard or whatever and whatnot, they were in the grass and stuff like that, running back and forth. I assumed that they were tussling over a taser or something like that. So.
You assume. So when you say assume, to me it means you didn't see it. I mean, can you describe to the judge what you saw in terms of that? What makes you thought there was a taser involved?
Well, because the officer was reaching for something and whatnot, and I assumed that he was going to tase him, because if he would have shot him, he probably would have shot him maybe when he got out the car. That's what I would assume. So, but I just assumed that he was reaching for like a taser or something. So.
But did you ever see one out?
No, I didn't. I don't think I saw one. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't really remember a whole lot when it comes to like seeing the taser, but I do know that the officer was reaching for something.
Do you recall anything being said between the two of them?
No.
Do you remember if anything? Did Patrick say anything from your memory?
I'm inside the house with the screen. I can't hear anything really. I can just see, so I didn't hear anything really until the gunshot.
Didn't hear anything from the officer then?
No.
So you kind of think, okay, there's a struggle. Are you going back in the house to call more police, or are you just going back in your house to
I'm going back in the house just to do my routine.
Not your business. How long after you go back into the house do you hear the shot then?
Maybe within like, I want to say like 2 minutes. Within 2 minutes I heard a gunshot go off, and that's when I went back to my front window in my living room, and when I opened the blinds, that's when I saw the officer standing over Patrick with the gun. So.
Can you describe a little bit more when you say you see the officer? What's the officer doing at that time?
Well, at this point, Patrick is obviously shot already. So when I open the blinds, I see that he's laying on the ground. The officer just sitting there, still just waiting with the gun, just sitting there.
Did you ever see the car where the person, where the Patrick came from? Did you see the car? Where was that in relation to your house?
That car was literally like right in front of my house.
And did you see the passenger for that car?
Did I see what?
Did you see the passenger in that car?
Yeah, the passenger in the car. He was just standing outside of the car, just sitting there. So.
Did you hear anything from him?
No.
Yeah, I think I'll go to the Exhibit 4, going to the body cam.
No objection, yeah.
And that's still.
Still Exhibit 4, just another part of Exhibit 4.
Oh.
The body cam. We'll watch it, and I'll ask you a few questions off of this.
Hey, stay in the car! Stay in the car! Stay in the car! Get in the car! Dude, I'm stopping you. You have a license?
In terms of the house we're talking about you live in, is that the one that kind of the right where just over the hand of the officer?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Continue.
Do you have a license? Do you have a driver's license? Do you speak English?
Yes.
Can I see your license?
What are you?
The plate doesn't belong in this car. Do you have a license or not? Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Where is it at?
It's in the car.
Get it for me.
What are you?
The plate does not belong in this car.
Now, just for a benefit, are you witnessing any of this at this point in time? You still haven't seen anything?
No, I didn't see any of this.
Okay, continue. understood you correctly, you would have seen that kind of run in front of your house, that's what you would have viewed?
Yeah, but it wasn't, not yet though. Like, if you
Okay,
go
you
further, it wasn't yet.
You think you haven't seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen anything yet
Okay.
from this point, no.
If you maybe indicate where you think you may have picked up the activity on this, can you tell us?
It was a little bit, it was after this though, it wasn't before that.
Okay,
It was,
just let us know when you think.
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Stop! Stop! Get your hands behind your back! Hands behind your back! Turn your hands behind your back!
So at this point, yeah. So at this point, I do remember hearing somebody saying like, "Put your hands behind your back" and stuff like that. So that's when I saw them going back and forth around this time period. So it was around there.
Okay, all right, thank you. Continue.
1950, second floor card. Stop. Stop resisting. Let go of the taser. Let go of the taser.
So did you see them go to the ground or anything like that at the end? Were you witness any of
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Like I did see them tussle on the ground at one point, but like I said, like by the time I opened the door, I saw that they were going back and forth. I walked away and then pretty much didn't come back until after the gunshot. But I do remember, yeah, they were like on the ground and stuff like that.
All right. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Honor.
Good morning.
Sir, my name is Mark Dodge, and I just have a few brief questions. Now, sir, you mentioned what you saw was tussling. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
And tussling, is that fair to say just some type of mutual wrestling, combat, just some type of mutual movement? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, from the looks, yeah.
And on the topic, the prosecutor asked you about whether the officer was saying anything. And I believe you had said you don't recall the officer saying anything. But it's been 6 months, is that correct?
Yeah.
And naturally your memory today might be different than it was 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And do you recall being interviewed by police that day?
Yeah.
And do you know if that was recorded?
I don't know if it was recorded, but I know the guy who came that day, I know he wrote notes down and stuff like that. But I don't think he recorded anything like that.
And based on 6 months in your memory, is it possible you may have said something different to the police back then on the topic of whether the officer was telling the individual to stop resisting? Is that possible?
No, like I know what I remember, yeah. If anything, the only thing I probably wouldn't remember exactly, like maybe what time it happened at or something like that, but for the most part, I remember everything that happened, how I saw it.
So if a recording of you talking about that topic and whether you heard the officer saying stop resisting, that would not be your recollection today. Is that right?
Like I said, like when it comes to him saying stop, there is a good chance he probably did say stop. I'm not 100% sure, but like I said, like when the tussling and stuff, I couldn't really hear everything. But if I had to guess, yeah, he did tell him to stop.
Okay. And once again, I'm not. It's natural. 6 months later, your memory could be different on certain things. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hunt. Now an appropriate time for?
I think so, Your Honor. I think we have our schedule at 11. He's supposed to come on, so we get that set up and be ready to go.
All right, then we'll take just about a 10-minute break. And we'll come back in a little bit. Thank you for everyone's patience this morning.
Probably just at the end of that. Let's take a summary video.
Pull it down. Yeah, I know the to be able to hear it. Okay. No problem. Happy to do that. You couldn't hear it? Exactly. You are so welcome.
That's a question for the jury.
Oh, no, no, you don't turn yours on. Oh, no. Yeah. You want to follow along the rules. I appreciate you.
Please do. Please do. We don't want to deal with that.
What you trying to say?
We don't want to deal with that. Talk about what they were arguing. started. I'll just see what's full Zoom on.
rise. Court is back in session.
Thank you. Maybe seated, everyone. All right. Mr. Becker, before you call your next witness, just thoughts on scheduling. I know we're creeping up on the noon hour.
This will be our last witness, Your Honor, for
Okay.
us. So
Okay.
we'll be good to go.
Maybe
Take
that'd
a
be-
lunch break, and for whatever, then if another defense is getting also witnesses.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor, we are prepared to call witnesses today. We would like a longer than usual lunch break, perhaps, because we do want the opportunity to look at the prosecution's brief in response to the brief regarding the law.
Okay.
One of the issues is we are going to call an expert on the issue of justification, and the interpretation of the law is that there's an interplay in his testimony, and we want a little time.
Okay. Well, we can talk about how long the break is going to be, but we'll plan on breaking for lunch then after this last witness. That sounds good. All right. Mr. Becker.
We'll call Brian Child. He's on your Zoom, Your Honor,
All right.
so.
All right. Now, you have. Mr. Childs, can you say something so we get the camera to switch its view?
Yes, testing 1, 2.
Very good. All right, and Mr. Childs, would you raise your right hand? And you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Mr. Becker, you may examine the witness. Before you do that, Mr. Childs, if you would state and spell your full name for the record.
Yes, my name is Brian Childs, B-R-Y-A-N, C-H-I-L-E-S.
All right, Mr. Becker, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm supposed to look. I don't know if you can see me at all, Mr. Childs. I know it's straightforward. I'm going to turn my head and look into you on our screen here. So if I'm turning to the side, that's why. Mr. Childs, could you tell the judge what you do for a living?
Yes, I am Senior Investigations Engineer at Axon.
What are your duties and responsibilities as a senior investigations engineer for Axon?
My duties are conducting forensic investigations on taser weapons and Axon body-worn cameras, submitting reports on the findings of investigations, and potentially testifying in court as of now.
All right, thank you. I'm in possession, and hopefully you two do as well. I have a 57-page report dated May 19, 2022. Are you familiar with this report?
Yes, I am.
And what is this report? What is the report, I guess, for the record?
This report is my forensic analysis of the taser weapon used in this case,
Okay.
taser probes, as well as the Axon Body 3 body-worn camera.
And this taser weapon, when you're talking about using this case, this was involved from the Grand Rapids. Michigan State Police sent you the taser that was used in the officer-involved shooting here in Grand Rapids back on April 4th.
Yes, it was Michigan State Police that I wrote the report for.
Okay. In terms of, you conducted a forensic exam on the taser. I guess the first thing to begin with is, can you give a general description? What is a taser, and I guess specifically, what is this taser that was used in this incident?
So, taser is a device or weapon that is designed to incapacitate a person. It is typically used by law enforcement. There are civilian models out there as well. But the basic principle is that there is a cartridge with probes that are attached to wires. When that is deployed by the taser weapon, and the probes hit and penetrate skin on the subject, and there's enough muscle mass between those probes, that will cause what we call neuromuscular incapacitation, or NMI for short. And that is basically the muscles move and respond. Basically, all muscle movement is contraction of the muscles. That is done by electrical signals from the brain. What the taser does is a very, very small amount of electricity, but it mimics the signals that your muscles would receive from the brain. And so when the muscles receive the signal, they will contract. So the taser weapon, and the model used in this case, will pulse at 22 pulses per second, which when the muscles are affected by it, will give the appearance of a solid contracting muscle lock, but it's actually doing it 22 times per second.
Okay. When you say specific, what is the specific model that was used in this incident?
The model in this incident, it was a Taser 7.
Now, is it the 7th edition, or is it just, is that what it means?
It's pretty much the 7th design from Axon's engineers.
Okay. What do you do in terms of when you get this taser? What's the first thing you do in terms of your analysis of this specific weapon for this incident? What do you go through? What is the process?
The absolute first thing I do is photograph the unpacking of the package. So typically it will be sent to me via FedEx or UPS or whatever carrier. Those are the most popular. I will photograph the unpacking of it and the opening of any sealed evidence packages. Take close-up photos of the device, cartridges, probes, whatever is shipped to me. I document how I received them. The next step will be for the Taser 7 weapon is to load the logs onto the battery pack. So that's simply plugging the battery pack into the weapon and waiting for the hourglass on the display to disappear. What happens there is the logs that are retained in the memory of the weapon are then transferred to the memory on the battery pack.
Exactly there, just in terms of when you talk about the log, so everything and that what occurred with that specific taser is logged in memory, and you can kind of tell what happened with that specific weapon when you have access to those logs.
Exactly. So the Taser 7 records all of its activity, whether you see that activity or not. So all activity that you see, as far as arming or activating the weapon, but also internal processes. Say, for instance, if it's trying to write to a memory block and it's busy and can't write, and then it retries and is able to write, all that is logged. So it's a lot of data in the log. Also, when the weapon's activated, every pulse is measured and recorded in the log as well.
So after you get the logs, I guess, into the battery pack, I think you said, what's the next step you do in terms of your analysis?
I then dock the battery pack into a docking station, some behind me here on the wall. The battery gets plugged into the docking station, and the logs upload to the evidence.com servers, and at the same time it charges the battery.
Do you look at the taser for any physical damage, any markings, anything along those lines as part of your analysis?
Yes, that is when I'm taking photographs of checking the evidence in, I will note if I observe any damage or flaws or extremely dirty or anything out of the ordinary. And then after the uploads and everything, I will revisit that and take additional photographs.
Okay.
Close-ups focusing on that area.
Now, maybe cutting to the chase a little bit, I'm going to, if we pull up, we have saved at Exhibit 5, which will be your page 19, I believe, in your report. And hopefully we can screen save it. We've tried to do this. But that also may help too.
Yes.
Do you see Exhibit 5 on the screen for you?
I do.
I don't know if the judge, if you want to do the split screen so you can see him, or is this okay?
Try it. Let's see.
We're going to mess around a little bit. All right, that worked. As long as the court can see it, I don't know.
I think that's the best we can get unless you, well, that's yours, right? That video is, or
The evidence is ours,
yeah, if you could make that bigger on yours, then I think it would show up.
We just did, and it didn't. I mean, as long as the court's okay with it, I think everybody's got a copy of this, so as long as you're okay with seeing it. And Mr. Childs, you can see that okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I guess, could you tell the judge what we're looking at here in page 19 of your report? There's some photographs. What are we looking at here?
That is a screenshot from the officer's Axon Body 3 camera. So it's footage from his camera, and I took a still screenshot.
And what led you to take a still screenshot of this particular photo that we have figure 4.3 and 4.4, if I'm wrong, if I recall correctly? Why did you take a specific picture here?
I took this screen to show that just prior to the deployment of the taser weapon, which you can see at the bottom of the image is yellow, is being pushed away. So it's pretty much that was a glaring indication of why the first deployment missed.
Okay. So you saw this in the body cam video. When you're looking at your logs, can you actually see a deployment, if you will, from the taser even without looking at these photos?
Yes, I would be able to see the taser deployment and from the weapons log perspective.
And what could you tell the judge what happened on this initial deployment? What could you tell from either A, these photos, or B, the actual deployment logs that you look from the weapon?
When I'm analyzing a deployment, I will look at the pulse graphs from the log. So the weapon, as I mentioned before, the weapon records every pulse that's generated from the weapon, or even attempted to be generated, and records the voltages and the charge. Charge is the electric current that is flowing. It records all of those for every single pulse into the log. When uploaded to the evidence.com servers, the servers will create a graph out of that data. So my analysis starts with the pulse graph.
Okay. You can go to the next screen just too. This is the one below it too. This is just right after exhibit 4, figure 4.3. Is this the moment, I guess? Is this from would it be from this picture or from the graphs? Is this the moment of deployment, if you will?
And if I can interrupt, Mr. Rector, exhibit 5 hasn't been admitted. Do you want to do that? Is there any objection to exhibit 5 being admitted?
No objection.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If you remember the question, you can answer the question.
Yes, so this is a screenshot at the exact time of the cartridge deployment from the taser. The reason I did both is you can't put a video into a printed report, so I included the previous frames, 6 previous frames, and then this one to show the progression of the weapon being pushed away.
Now, from your analysis, it was my understanding that there was, I don't know if that may be the correct term, it did not engage. There was it did not connect. Whatever term you use, it missed, if you will.
Correct. Both probes had missed, and so therefore there was no electrical connection to the subject.
Okay. If we go to exhibit 6 now, this would be your page 20. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
And what is this?
This is a screenshot from the same, could you scroll up slightly? So this is cropped from a cell phone video recorded by a bystander. And it's the same thing. I took a screenshot and pasted it into my report.
And this gives you a pasted report because there's some things in this photo that demonstrate some of your findings in your report. Is that correct?
Yes, it does.
I would move the admission of People's Exhibit 6, Your Honor.
Any objection? No objection. All right. Exhibit 6 is admitted.
Could you tell the judge, we all see the photo now and the 2 red circles, why did you feel it was necessary to take a picture and put this in the report?
I put this in the report because it shows proof that both probes had missed the subject and were on the ground. When you are viewing this video, you can see as the Taser 7, which is in both of their hands in this screen, If you see where the red circles that I placed, those are not in the original video, but you can see two very light objects in the middle of each of those circles. When you're watching the video, as the Taser 7 is moved, those move as well. So those are the probes that are attached to the wires, which is attached to the Taser 7 handle.
Now I'm going to take you to page 22. This would be our Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize this as?
This is a screenshot from the same cell phone video, and this is at the time that cartridge 2 was recorded.
Once again, you put this in there because you can see from the video as well as your logs that of a second deployment. Is that correct?
Correct.
I would move the admission of People's Exhibit 7, Your Honor.
Any objection? No objection. Exhibit 7 will be.
Now, in terms of this, can you tell the judge, I guess, you say it's a deployment. Why do you say that? Is it just based on the video and what you saw in the video, or is there something else that you could tell that shows you it was actually deployed?
It's based on, one, the logs of the weapon, showing the deployment at that time, but also in the cell phone video, you can hear the pop. When a cartridge is deployed from a taser, there's a small primer that is ignited, and then there's a compressed nitrogen gas capsule that is punctured, and the air is let out. That's what launches the probes out of the cartridge, and that makes a pop sound. Not as loud as a firearm sound, but it's distinguishable. So at that point in the video, you can hear the pop as it's pointed in the ground and deployed.
What can you tell what essentially happens with this deployment? What happens with the prongs, if you will?
With this one, you can see the front of the handle is facing the ground. It's pressed into the grass. So the probes are launched out, but there's nowhere for them to go but into the grass. So they embedded it into the grass. I don't know how deep, but the probes were caked with dirt, and the front of the weapon had grass embedded into it. As far as electricity, the ground was wet, and so the electricity conducted through the water in the ground.
So now you have two deployments of the taser. How many times can a taser do? How many cartridges does a Taser 7 carry?
There are two cartridges that can be deployed, but they can be reactivated any number of times.
What do you mean by that?
There's a few ways to activate a taser. One is via the trigger, which the trigger, if there's a live cartridge available, it will deploy that cartridge and activate the high voltage. Another way is there's a button on the side of the taser weapon called the arc switch, and if that's pressed, that will activate the high voltage as well. So, for instance, if both cartridges are deployed, but you have a chance, say, for instance, if one of the probes hit a person, you could reactivate the weapon and press it to their skin and complete that circuit and potentially get the neuromuscular incapacitation.
Okay. So it takes a probe hitting the skin of the person to obtain the neuromuscular incapacitation. Is that what I'm hearing?
The ideal way is a probe puncturing the skin, but it can happen if a probe is close enough to the skin to arc to it. Most people talk about a taser as the high voltage, 50,000 volts. The whole purpose of having high voltage is to be able to jump air gap from, say, if the probes do not connect to the skin or puncture the skin, the high voltage allows the electricity to jump to the skin and complete that circuit.
What happens if if the prongs don't hit the skin? I guess maybe a better question is, what is a drive stun? What is that?
A drive stun is a action performed by the user of the taser, but it's basically taking the front of the weapon and pressing it against a person to allow the electricity to flow into them. If there's no cartridge deployed, a drive stun will just have the electricity go locally to where you're pressing it, and it can cause pain. If a cartridge is deployed, say I gave that example, if one probe is attached to the subject, you can complete the circuit via a drive stun with the actual weapon in another area and complete that circuit and get more muscle mass between the probes.
Okay. But a drive stun, if there is no prong attached, the drive stun simply causes pain, is what you just said. Do I understand that correctly?
If no probes attached, yes, a drive stun can cause pain.
When you say can, what do you mean? Is that also dependent on clothing, other factors? Is kind of...
Mostly I say that because sometimes they're used on someone who is very drunk and not feeling pain, or on mind-altering drugs and not feeling pain. So that's why I say it can cause pain.
Okay.
For a normal person, it typically will cause pain.
But it wouldn't cause the incapacitation that you talk when I designed to with the probes.
Correct. If no probes are deployed, I would not expect NMI possibility.
Okay. If you scroll down exhibit, I believe we're on 8. I'm going to show you exhibit 8. This is one part of exhibit 8. Do you recognize this?
Yes, that is the Taser 7 handle.
And go down to the next one. And figure 5.2 and 5.3 on exhibit 8. Do you recognize this part of exhibit 8 as well?
Yes, that is the front end of the Taser weapon handle, so the cartridges are facing the camera.
So this would be the actual Taser we've been talking about that was used in this incident, and this is how it appeared to you when you were doing your examination.
That's correct.
I would move the admission of exhibit 8, Your Honor.
No objection. Oh, exhibit 8 will be made.
So clearly from here, we see both cartridges have been fired, are gone from the Taser. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is there any impact in terms of if both cartridges are gone, you just have the drive stun function? Can it do that through the dirt and so forth that you see on this exhibit?
Yes, it could. Dirt is not, even when dried, dirt would be porous, and electricity can find ways through a porous material. So if drive stun was applied, the electricity would go through the, even if it was dried, especially if it was wet, because it will travel through the moisture. But even if it's dried, it would still allow the electricity to travel to the skin.
With the drive stun function, in terms of it causes pain, does it cause a burn on the skin? Does it cause injury, anything like that, or is it possible?
It can. Any electric part. Basically what that is the air molecules between the electrodes will ionize and become conductive, and the current flows. Anytime you have current flowing through air, which when the molecules ionize, it's very low resistance, which allows more current, and you get heat transfer. So when conducting through skin, which is not conductive, it can cause a burn depending on the duration that is held.
Is it the whole, would it be the imprint of, I guess, of that whole rectangle, if you will, or is it smaller than that? I guess where is the current coming from that would cause the pain, and how big is that?
It's actually small, so it would actually make 4 marks because the electricity is coming from the electrodes of the weapon. If I may, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but I can show a mark on the image.
I guess we could try.
Let's try. So there's an electrode here. Can you see that red circle?
No. We can barely see it on our ours very faintly on the upper right. It's the upper right.
Look at that arrow. Not work? All right. Can you see the arrow?
No, we cannot see the arrow. The red mark a little bit.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's not working. Anyways. All right. Looking at the empty circles in front of the cartridges. where the throats would come out. Just to, if you look just diagonal, upward diagonal from those circles, there's a small electrode. You can't see the electrode in the photo, but that's the location of it. In the upper corners and bottom corners of that cartridge area, there are electrodes. That is where the electricity would jump to the skin. And so basically, if you did a drive stun on a person that caused burns, you would see 4 small burn marks.
Okay.
In
So
those areas.
would it be, I guess, maybe for my benefit, between the circle and the yellow little corner, that would be the electrodes, if you will?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think that helps. Kind of getting away now from the gun. You also talked about the body worn camera. You did look at that as well?
Yes, I did.
Just a couple things on the body worn camera. From your report, it indicates between 8:12 a.m. and 8:13, the body worn camera was pressed 16 times, 11 times for less than 1 second, and 3 times for 1 second, and then 2 times for 2 seconds. Can you give, I'm assuming you watch the body worn camera, can you give an idea of what's going on in terms of why is it being pressed so much in that sequence?
Yeah, so from my understanding watching the video is there was a physical struggle. The officer was wearing his body worn camera on his chest, on his vest, and there was a physical struggle going on. I analyzed the video where the button presses were, and every time the button was pressed was when there was an object or body right in front of the camera, blocking the view of the camera. So basically what that means is the subject and the officer were in a struggle, and every time they bumped into each other, that would press the event button, which is a large circular button on front of the camera.
Okay, and so when it was actually, you saw the video, it was turned off. How long does it take to hit that button for it actually to turn off?
So it takes, well, I'm not going to say turn off because the camera is still powered on, but it stops the recording when the button is pressed for 3 consecutive seconds. So it's pressed and held in for 3 seconds.
So at least on a couple of occasions, it was close to that during the struggle. So it's possible that it could stop recording, using your terminology, during a struggle, even though somebody didn't intentionally turn it off, if you will.
That's correct.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Shiles.
Good morning.
Not sure if you can see me or not.
Yes, I can.
All right. Sir, I might go through some of the same materials again, so I apologize, but it's not necessarily intuitive information, just to help the court better understand a certain things. Now, sir, does Axon, the creator of the Taser 7, do they create training materials, user manuals for the Taser 7 device?
Yes, they do.
And are those materials, if you know it, then administered to the police departments that purchase these devices, and then the department is responsible for training their own officers?
Yes, overall the police department is responsible for training their officers. Axon provides training to train their instructors. So basically, someone at the police department is selected to be their Taser instructor. They will go and be trained by Axon on how to instruct a class, and then they go and teach their users what they learned and what's in the training material.
And is that instructor from the department who gets instructed by Axon, is that sometimes referred to as the master Taser instructor for the department?
Correct.
Now, the materials that Axon creates, do those include warnings on risks associated with the use of the Taser 7?
Yes, they do.
And sir, you already mentioned on direct examination that the Taser 7, it is a weapon. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And does Axon warn that the Taser 7 is a serious weapon and should be treated as such at all times? Does that sound like it's right out of a manual from Axon?
Yes, it does. It might be paraphrased. I'm not sure the exact wording, but yes, that is the message that we want to comply.
Thank you. And does Axon warn that the Taser 7 device can cause serious injury or death?
Yes.
And I believe you already testified that the device has the ability to incapacitate human beings. Is that right?
That's correct.
So it goes without saying, Axon wants to put out very thorough, very comprehensive training materials to try to minimize the risk that a serious injury or death could result from use. Is that fair to say?
That's correct, yes.
Would it be fair to say that Taser use by an untrained person may be more risk that serious injury or death could result because of their lack of training on the device?
Oh, yes, I believe so. If somebody is not trained and they don't know specific rules to follow, and basically we put the training in there to mitigate risk, and if you don't take the training, you don't know how to mitigate risk.
And one of those risks, maybe for an untrained person, that I'd like to get into here is on the topic of certain sensitive locations sensitive locations on the body for Taser use. Is that one of the risk factors, I guess you could say, for Taser use?
Yes, it is.
And does Axon, in their education and training, stress that it's critical to avoid injury or death by avoiding certain locations of the body with Taser use? Is that fair to say?
Yes. Overall, we do train that there's certain areas that you do not want to deploy at for the risk of serious injury. And there are certain situations to avoid to decrease the risk of accidental death.
Thank you. And there's certain locations, perhaps if you're shooting the probes, certain locations of the body that Axon warns to try to avoid. Is that right?
Absolutely, yes.
But there's also certain locations of the body that a drive stun can cause serious injury. Is that what Axon warns?
Yes.
I'm just going to go through a few topics that may have been talked about already, but just in regards to the cartridges. The Taser 7 device that we have at issue here was equipped with 2 cartridges. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In order to discharge or fire a cartridge or the probes out of a cartridge, the user pulls the trigger. Is that right?
That's correct.
And each cartridge holds 2 probes. Is that correct?
That's correct. I refer them to as a top probe and a bottom probe.
Okay. And those probes are attached to wires which attach back to the Taser, back to the device. Is that a fair way to say it? If I fire the probes, there's a wire connecting the probes back to the Taser 7 device. Is that right?
For the most part, the wire is physically attached to the cartridge, and the cartridge is clipped into the weapon. So there's the wires aren't, I wouldn't say it's technically correct that the wires are attached to the Taser 7 like physically, but they're clipped in via the cartridge.
Exactly. Good point. Thank you. And if we pull the trigger, both probes are deployed. electrical energy begins flowing to the probes. Is that a general way of saying it?
Yes, but I hesitate on flowing because you have to have a connection to the probes for the flow of electricity or the flow of current. So I would rather say that when deployed, the high voltage is activated and both probes are energized.
Okay. And depending on the type of, I know there's some different types of cartridges, but approximately what type of distance can those probes be fired to? How far can they actually fly? Approximately.
There is 25 feet of wire within the probes. So technically, they can travel 25 feet. There is one cartridge that has a wider angle, so that 25 feet wouldn't be feasible enough because one probe would hit the ground before it reached 25 feet distance.
Okay. And we talked about the topic of NMI, as you referred to it, neuromuscular incapacitation, and which generally causes uncontrollable muscle contractions and reduces ability to perform voluntary movements. Is that fair to say?
Well, I would say under NMI it eliminates the ability to control muscle movement.
And is NMI accomplished by delivering the electrical pulses across the two electrodes to overstimulate the motor nerves? Is that fair to say?
Essentially, yes.
And if the two probes fired make contact with a person, then is it fair to say this closes the circuit? Is that how you would refer to it? Closing a circuit to allow the energy to flow between the probes?
Yeah, that's correct terminology. It does close the circuit, but I will point out that even if the probe doesn't contact the skin, because of the high voltage, there is potential for it to close the circuit without physical contact to the probe.
Okay, thank you. And I might elaborate on that in a moment here, but I'd like to turn to another topic now, and that's the term re-energizing. Now, probes are fired. If they make proper contact with a target, then the energy flows, the current flows for 5 seconds. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a default 5-second duration to the activation.
Now, are those probes, and you may have talked about this already, but probes have already been fired, 5 seconds goes. Those probes are capable of being re-energized. Is that right?
That's correct.
And so if I fired my first cartridge and I want to fire my second cartridge now, I pull the trigger on the second cartridge. That also re-energizes the probes from the first cartridge. Is that correct?
Yes. It's a technology that we call adaptive cross-connect. There's a lot of complexity in it, but yes, the deployment of cartridge 2 will also reactivate the cartridge 1.
Now, backing up, if I fire cartridge 1 and I don't want to fire cartridge 2, but I would like to re-energize those probes, can I simply touch or push the arc button on the side of the device? Will that re-energize the probes from cartridge 1?
That's correct.
So I want to talk about this cross-connect a little more. In order to achieve the cross-connect, I can press the arc buttons, or I can pull the trigger to re-energize probes. Is that correct? Or am I mixing up a couple of different things there?
Could you state it again?
Sure. If let's put it this way: if both cartridges are deployed, and I either press the arc button and the arc button is on either side of the device, is that right?
Correct.
And I could press it on either side or pull the trigger, so long as those probes are still attached by wire, that would re-energize all 4 of the probes from both cartridges.
That is correct.
And could you explain, if I come in contact with 2 of those probes, and I believe you already explained, the probes don't have to be touching the skin necessarily to have the energy flow to me. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
If I come in contact with 2 of the probes, the arc button gets pressed, the trigger gets pulled, the circuit thus gets closed, then I may be at risk of the circuit closing and potentially suffering NMI. Is that fair to say?
That's fair to say, but it's kind of limited as well, because I want to include the wires that are attached to the probes. They are insulated, however, they are very thin and fragile, and we have to make them that way in order to fit them into the probe and allow the probe to travel. Any thick, if it's too thick, it's not going to travel far, and you won't be able to fit the wire in there. That wire is easily damaged, so if it's stepped on or anything that could damage that thin insulation, that could allow the electricity to flow from the wire to you. So for instance, if you have wire wrapped around you, but you're not near the probes, you could still potentially experience NMI from electricity traveling through the wire.
So even contact with the wire potentially, in the arc switch is pressed or the trigger is pulled, the potential is there that I could get, lack of a better word, I could get bit by the electricity. Is that right?
That's correct. In the training for law enforcement, they're trained to cuff under power, which means to be able to handcuff someone while they're experiencing NMI. But one thing they're trained at is to pay attention to where the wires are and to avoid touching the wires. And it's for that reason.
Sir, you saw the video here and already testified about that. But basically what we had here was a couple of individuals tussling round and round. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's a fair description.
And the taser had been discharged in the vicinity of where they're tussling around. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I believe you note in your report from, and perhaps it was shown right in the exhibit there, you pointed out that the probes are getting dragged around when they continue to tussle. Is that right?
That's correct.
And the probes have barbs on them. Is that right?
That's correct.
But you already acknowledged that the probes don't necessarily need to be penetrating skin in order to feel the effects of them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now let's say I'm laying on the probes, or maybe even the wire, or kneeling on the probes or the wire. I'm tangled up in them, however it might be. Those barbs, if the arc switch is pressed or the trigger is pulled, I could have a circuit close on me. Is that fair to say?
Yes, but I wouldn't limit it to the barbs. Say, for instance, if the probe was laying on its side and you were laying on the probe, so the barb is not touching you, but just the metal probe laying on, even if you have clothing on, but especially if you have wet clothing on, it would conduct through the clothing to your skin.
Thank you. So the fact that the probes, both cartridges have been deployed, the taser should still be treated as a serious weapon because it still has the capability to be reactivated. The probes can be reactivated. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Now, I'd like to talk about the drive stun. And the drive stun is basically a mechanism on the weapon that, when administered on a target, also delivers an electrical charge to that target. Is that a very generic way of stating it?
Yes.
And the shock or the charge is administered by touching or pushing the device on the target. Is that right?
Correct. The pushing the device onto the target is basically completing the circuit. So when you don't have two probes connected, you can complete that circuit by pressing the weapon against the person.
So I guess backing up to the scenario, I'm kneeling on a probe, or perhaps even the wire. That's only one point of contact. If I get drive stunned, that makes 2 points, doesn't it? So that I might have the circuit closed on me and potentially suffer NMI?
That's correct.
And Axon, I believe we already talked about this, warns that the drive stun alone on certain sensitive parts of the body can crush those sensitive areas. Is that what the literature says?
I believe so. I know that's the message given. I'm not sure the exact wording, but that's the intent.
Thank you. Now, when we talked about the device, if two probes or 2 points make contact with an individual, the arc switch is touched, or perhaps if it's already been expelled, or the trigger is pulled, the electricity, the current moves for 5 seconds. Is that right?
If there's a connection, the current will flow for 5 seconds. But I guess better said is that both cartridges would be activated or energized for a 5 second duration.
And at the conclusion of that 5 seconds, if I push the arc button again or I pull the trigger again, the device would again, so long as a connection was made, it would go for another 5 seconds. Is that right?
That's correct.
So, sir, just in conclusion here, I think we've already hit these topics, but even after both cartridges are deployed, the Taser 7 maintains the ability to re-energize all 4 probes by simply pressing the arc switch or pulling the trigger. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
And even after both cartridges are deployed, it still maintains its ability to drive stun someone. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And we talked about the drive stun can work in conjunction with contact with even one probe to close a circuit and potentially cause NMI?
Correct. One probe or even one wire.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shiles.
Just real brief, just so I'm clear, I want to make clear, there's 2 discharges here. The first one completely missed everything. It didn't hit anything, is what your testimony is, by watching the video and by looking at the logs of the taser weapon. Is that correct?
Technically, they hit something, the ground or
The ground.
sidewalk or something, but they did not hit the subject.
Okay. The second one, if you can pull up exhibit 6, I believe, the one before this, or 7, excuse me. The second one, now they've talked about a bunch of recharge and it could recharge and everything. The second one, this is the second deployment, if you will. Is that correct?
Correct.
And this second deployment was right next to both of them. I mean, within inches, if you will, from the photo. Is that correct?
Yes, it was deployed into the ground right next to them.
And you watched the video. Did you see any indication that anybody was suffering from NMI, or there was any implication, any reaction that that taser was having any impact on either Mr. Lyoya or the officer?
No, during the struggle, I did not see indication of NMI.
They continued to struggle after this, didn't they?
Well, yeah, there was even a struggle after the struggle continued after the second cartridge was deployed.
Okay, thank you. I have nothing further.
I just, well, Mr. Knott.
Sir, just to clarify, regardless of whether there had not been any NMI yet, with both persons, I think the prosecutor said within inches of this, if either one of them were to come in contact with the probes that were already expelled, or even the wire, if it were two probes or two wires, the trigger gets pulled, the button gets pressed, the circuit could close, and that could potentially cause NMI. Is that correct?
That's correct. The potential was there.
So it's, even though neither one of them may have experienced NMI, the risk was still there given these conditions, that based on the re-energizing of the probes, that there was still risk that NMI could result. Is that right?
That's right. I'll clarify. As long as the cartridges are still installed into the handle, the potential for NMI is there, especially with a struggle going on and people moving around. The potential is there.
Thank you very much.
I have a couple questions that I'd like to ask the witness. Mr. Childs, the wire, and I think you justified this, the wire generally stays connected to the probe. It connects the probe and the, what is it called, the gun, the trigger?
That's correct. The wire is physically tied to the probe and physically tied to the cartridge on the other end.
Do we know here whether it remained tied at all times? Whether it came undone?
I do not. I believe at some point probes were disconnected. There was still wire attached to the probe, but I would have to look at my photos again. But I believe probes were eventually broken from the wire.
Okay. You talked about the potential that that physical contact with the wire under certain circumstances could complete the circuit. The wire is insulated. Is that correct?
My point there is if there's a flaw in the insulation. So even stepping on the wire can break the insulation. So if the wire is fully insulated, it should not, the electricity should not travel through it. However, being such thin wire and in a dynamic situation, there's a risk.
Okay. But just if the wire is intact and fully insulated, that wouldn't be enough to complete the circuit. You would have to have a tear or a rip or exposure in the conductive material, or in the insulation over the conductive material. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
And then if there was damage and the conductive material was exposed, if that conductive material came in contact with skin, that could release the full charge that has the potential
have not contact with skin, so you don't even need contact, it just needs to be close enough to our building.
Okay. But the face of the trigger itself, the face of the gun itself, I guess what I'm trying to understand is if this wire, if exposed, if the conductive material is exposed, it could emit the full charge. Why is it, how is it that the contact with the gun itself only creates this drive stun as opposed to a full charge?
I'm not sure I understand.
If the wire was severed, for example, 2 or 3 inches from the face of the gun, am I using the right phraseology?
We stay away from gun.
Okay. What do you call
weapon?
What do you call the base?
It's the handle.
The handle. Okay. If both probes are discharged, the wire on each probe was severed at 3 or 4 inches from the base. If there was exposure in the conductive material, that could emit the full charge. Is that correct?
If both wires of the probes is severed several inches from the handle, your only potential to deliver charge would be at the front of the handle to the end of the wires. At that point, the probes would not be active or energized because the wire is severed.
Once the wire is severed, you can't get the charge through the wire itself. You have to have a probe connected.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you completely sever the wire, you break that circuit. And so, if you sever the wire completely, like you took scissors and snipped it and threw the rest away, that part that is not attached to the weapon anymore would not be energized, and that would not have potential to deliver charge.
Okay, let me ask. Maybe I ask it this way. There's 2 probes. That's not the wire. There are 2 leads for each probe. Is that correct? I'm thinking electricity and a negative and a positive and a flow like that. Is that?
Yeah, that's a good way to picture it. Is you have a top probe and a bottom probe. You can picture one is positive and one is negative.
Okay.
And they need to complete.
If the wire got severed somewhere along the line, and both of those wires, not both of the probes, but both the positive and the negative lead, there was exposure of the conductive material, and if both of those touched scanner cable flows, would that deliver the charge, even though the probe is now disconnected?
Yes.
Okay. So at some point, the wires have to attach to the internal mechanism in the remote, in the handle, correct?
Yes, and they are attached via the cartridge that's installed in the weapon. So the wire is physically attached to the cartridge, which is plugged into the handle. So if you have wires, if you have your handle and wires hanging out, when you activate the weapon, those wires would be activated.
Okay, but at some point, inside the probe, the wires, there's a transition from wire to metal.
Correct.
Okay, and then on the other side, in the handle itself, there's got to be a transition from wire to metal.
Correct.
Okay. Let's say the wires came apart at the joint, in the solder joint, in the handle. I mean, is that a fair characterization of it?
Yes.
Okay, if that came apart at that point, can that handle still emit the type of charge that would cause NMI?
If all the wires were removed?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So the only way, so a connection with the handle itself, assuming all the wires are intact and assuming that the probes are feet away, the connection with the handle itself only creates a drive stun. Is that correct?
That's correct. If the probes and wires are away, then the potential is drug stun.
And a drive stun cannot cause an MI?
It can't cause NMI, correct, in that situation.
Okay. Mr. Becker, any?
Nothing for your honor.
All right, Mr. Dodgen.
Just to make sure that the court understands on that last portion there, the drive stun could cause NMI in conjunction with contact from one probe or potentially wire. Is that correct?
Correct. In the situation that the judge was talking about was if all the wires were removed, but if you still have one wire connected, then a drive stun could potentially cause NMI.
And the drive stun alone, no wires, the drive stun alone to certain portions of the body, axon warns, can cause serious injury. Is that correct?
That's correct. And I'll give, for instance, the eyeball. That can cause serious injury, discharging into an eyeball.
And sir, we're actually going to have another witness to talk more about this, and I know it's, but so I plan to go into it with them. But the drive stun can crush the trachea as well. Is that what axon warns?
Yes. Well, pretty much any object pressed on the trachea can crush it. Taser weapons, no exception.
And drive stun in the axon warning can crush genitals. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is there also warnings on using the drive stun on the back of the neck area? Is that another warning?
Yeah, well, pretty much the entire head is a no-no.
Okay.
That's where we advise not to use it.
And sir, we can see from right there on that picture, drive stun, both of these individuals here are, would it be fair to say they're within arm's length of each other? Arm's reach.
Yeah.
And basically with a drive stun, just to make sure the court understands, you reach out and you make contact with the target, or you press the target to deliver a drive stun by simply pressing the button on the side or pulling the trigger. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Becker, anything for you?
No, your honor.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Childs. The witness can be excused at this point. All right.
All right. Thank you for the opportunity to do this remotely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, Mr. Becker.
We have no additional witnesses at this time, your honor.
Okay, it's 12:11. I think it makes perfect sense for a lunch break then at this point. Mr. Bergola, you mentioned you want to address something with scheduling.
Yes, Your Honor, we want to make sure we have witnesses all here, ready to go in consecutive order. If possible, we'd like normally the court would probably take an hour for lunch. If possible, we can get an extra hour to make sure that we are ready to go when we start back up.
All right,
We would appreciate it.
what if we reconvened at 2 p.m.?
That would be
Would
fine.
that
Thank you, Your Honor.
satisfactory, Mr. Becker? You should, yeah?
The court's discretion, your honor.
All right, then we will we'll adjourn now. We'll reconvene at 2 p.m. Thank you, everyone. And just a reminder, I think we're still at capacity. What we'll do after lunch is it's still a first come, first serve. So if you're here now, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you would have access.